We are on the record in case number 2022-00197. Kirksville Water Association Incorporated and its individual directors, Armin Sanders, Wayne Long, Alfred Winkler, Randall Webb, and Bobby Powell, and manager Mike Agee, alleged failure to comply with KRS 278-300 and 278-020. My name is Kent Chandler. I'm chairman of the Kentucky Public Service Commission. Will be presiding over the hearing today. With me is Vice Chair Angie Hatton. Commissioner Mary Pat Regan is unable to make it today, but will review the record and be part of the decision in this case. I'd ask if you have cell phones, please turn them to silent or turn them off. The purpose of today's hearing is to take evidence in this matter. Before we get started, I'll take an entry of appearance of counsel for the applicant.
Yes, Judd Patterson for Kirksville Water Association.
And for commission staff.
Tina Frederick for commission staff.
Okay. And I think yesterday, evidence of the hearing was filed in the record. Is that right, Mr. Patrick?
Yes.
Okay. And seeing no one here from the public interested in providing public comments in person, and knowing that no one has indicated pursuant to the instructions on our website that they were interested in providing public comments, I note that if anybody's watching this in real time or after the fact, that you can provide public comments on a case prior to submission of the case one of three ways. First, through our website at psc.ky.gov. You can also provide public comments sending them in by mail to 211 Sower, S-O-W-E-R, Boulevard, Frankfort, Kentucky 40602. And then you can also put them through our email, which is psc.comment@ky.gov. We ask that you provide your name, your address, and the case number, which in this matter is 2022-00197. Okay, given that no one is here to provide a public comment, well, let me just ask, who do you have here with you today, Mr. Patterson? Do you have witnesses Long, Sanders, Winkler, and Powell?
Some combination there of your, Mr. Chair. We have Wayne Long, Alfred Winkler, and Bobby Powell.
Okay.
Randall Webb is no longer a board member. He was not reelected. And Mike Agee is no longer the manager. And we have with us Aaron Owens, who is the current manager.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, and Mr. Sanders is receiving radiation treatment today and could not be present.
Okay, so hold on one second. So Mr. Sanders is not present. Mr. Webb is not present. And you said Agee, is that right?
Yes.
Agee is no longer the manager, so he's not present.
And Mr. Webb is no longer a board member.
Was Mr. Webb, and I'm not asking you to testify here, Mr. Patterson, but I'm just curious if you all intend on stipulating or asserting otherwise that Mr. Webb was a board member at the time of either the loan or the deed, the purchase of the property?
He was.
Okay. All right. And then Mr. Agee has left since the most recent data request responses from November, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Owens is now manager,
Correct.
and Mr. Owens is here?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So we can, I can, or Ms. Frederick can, or you can call the individual witnesses that you have here today. You're more than welcome to call them in whatever order you like, and then if we need to recall, whatever may be the case. I would, one of the things I want to get down is we have what I consider, I don't know, issue is just the easiest word to use, not necessarily a problem, but an issue, is that all of the evidence that we have in this case, or almost exclusively all the evidence that we have in this case, is we have, I know, some documentary evidence. I'm not speaking on that, but it's basically testimony evidence from Mr. Agee, the data request responses that he tendered. Given that he's not here today, it's difficult to ask cross-examination on the previous data requests that have been provided. Do you know to what extent the other witnesses that you have here today with you can, I know that, for instance, well, let me take a step back. Do you know if Mr. Owen can speak to many of the data request 1 and data request 2 that previously Mr. AG responded to.
Mr. Owen was a part of the company during all the pertinent time.
Okay.
The reality of this particular case, I think, and the evidence that the commission is going to be interested in hearing, all of the board members were involved in every decision that was made. And
Okay.
you know, you'll see as I bring out the testimony what our position is on the matter. There's not much dispute that the loan was entered before permission was given, and there's reasons which will elicit why that happened, and why we believe there's substantial compliance, although there's technical violation of that statute. So we could even stipulate as to the violation if that's what the commission wants.
Well, and what I wanted to make sure of is that make sure there wasn't an expectation from you that we need to lay new foundation for each witnesses as to their direct knowledge, so that we can ask some cross-examination about the documents that were previously
No,
provided.
and in fact, I don't know that we'll need to call anybody other than the chairman, which the evidence that will be presented by each board member would be the same.
Well, and so I do have an interest in calling the board members, if for no other reason than at least the initial response and the data request. What I want to make sure of is that I get that they've, like, for instance, the initial response, everybody adopted it. And I've got their signatures, electronic signatures where they adopted it, but we don't have an oath or verification affidavit or anything, and I just want to make sure that folks will adopt, are willing to adopt it pursuant to an oath or affirmation. I figure it's just easier to put them on the stand and have them
That'd be fine.
give them a document, make sure they've seen it and they agree, and get them on the record, as opposed to asking you to go back and get affidavits for everybody and get them all notarized. And that just seems, since everybody's here, at least for those that are here, that we can do that. And then
That'd be fine.
And then for Mr. Owen, ask if he adopts Mr. AG's testimony as his own, or the data request responses as his own. That way we can, if we have specific questions about it, we can ask cross-examination and not have to go all the way back through it.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So what we'll do, Mr. Patterson, is I'll have you call your witness. I'll swear him in, give you an opportunity to, let me get this right here. We entered it in order of the date. I just want to make sure I don't say anything differently. That I'll give you an opportunity to conduct some direct examination if you'd like. You can call them in whatever order you think is best. You can conduct some direct examination to whatever point you would like to. And then before we tender for cross-examination by commission staff, I would like to just go ahead and make sure that they affirm on the stand the association's response. They're individually accepted it. And then for Mr. Owen, make sure that he'll adopt the testimony of Mr. AG, or the previous data request of Mr. AG. Then we'll go to commission staff for their questions. Vice Chair Hatton, I may have a couple of questions, then you'll get an opportunity to conduct a redirect. And then after we call the witnesses, if you'd like to recall any of them to clarify maybe what other testimony said or what another witness said, you'll certainly be able to do so. All right. Any questions, Mr. Gresham?
No.
All right. You may call your first witness.
Call Wayne Long, please.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please have a seat, Have a seat and state your name and address for the record.
Wayne Long, W-A-Y-N-E-L-O-N-G, 250 Foxwood Drive, Richmond, Kentucky.
Mr. Long, please give the commission an idea of your history in Madison County. You're a lifelong resident of Madison County?
Yes, sir, I am. Born and raised.
Okay. And what did you retire from in Madison County?
I retired as Richmond Fire Chief 7 years ago, and I've been a lifelong farmer also.
How long have you been a member of Kirksville Water Association?
My first meter was in 1985,
And how long have you been a part of the board of Kirksville Water Association?
2010,
And how long have you been chair?
since 2019.
Did your father serve, in fact, on the board before you did?
Yes,
Okay, so Kirksville Water Association has been a part of your professional
It has,
life and life
yes.
for many, many years.
for a while, yes.
All right, I'm going to take you through the timeline of what happened leading up to the events that have required this hearing, most of which revolve around purchasing the office building where Kirksville Water Association is now housed. So when you began serving on the board, did Kirksville have a relationship with Madison County Utilities whereby Madison County Utilities furnished the office space for Kirksville Water Association?
Yes,
And in that relationship, did they also provide billing services and staff to provide services for Kirksville Water Association?
they did we paid for them though, yes.
So Kirksville Water Association would pay so much per bill for those services, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Madison County Utilities owned a building in which all those offices were housed, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did Kirksville Water Association own any part of that building?
No, sir.
Okay. Did Madison County Utilities provide office space and meeting space for Kirksville Water Board to host their meetings and their monthly meetings in that space?
Yes.
Sometime in the fall of 2021, did you become aware that Madison County Utilities was not going to renew that contract with Kirksville Water Association?
Yes.
Okay. And were you aware that Kirksville Water Association was going to have their own space and be fully functional by June 1st of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. At that point, did you then, when I say you, I generally speaking mean you and the board, did the board then begin to start looking for alternate office space?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Did you look for both spaces to buy and to rent?
Basically both, but we looked to rent something quick to start with.
Were you able to identify anything that was going to suit the needs of the water company or the customers or made financial sense?
No,
At some point, you were able to locate a building in which you reside now. Where is that building in Richmond?
Fox Haven Drive,
Is that across from the Richmond Police Department?
it is.
Okay. And did that building offer certain advantages that no other building did? For example, offered a lane for drive-through service if it was needed to be put in?
It did.
Okay. Ample parking?
It does.
Was it centrally located so that customers of Kirksville Water Association could easily find it and access it?
Yes, it wasn't but maybe a mile from the Madison County Utilities building.
Was there any question that it was the best spot that you could find for Kirksville offices?
At that time, yes.
Okay. Was the price that was negotiated, in your opinion, fair?
It was,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Were there competing offers on that building?
Yes.
Okay. Were you under the impression that if you did not move quickly to secure that space, that you would lose it?
Yes.
Okay. Were you also worried, both as chair of the board and as a member of Kirksville Water Association, that if you didn't move quickly, you would not be able to be up and running in time in June to adequately run the water company?
Correct.
Okay. Now, when you saw what the purchase price was of the building and talked to the board members, did you believe at the time, do you believe now, that Kirksville Water Association had sufficient assets to purchase that building?
Yes.
Okay. Did you believe at the time that you could buy that building without materially affecting Kirksville's ability to run the utility?
Yes.
Okay. Did you believe at the time that you could purchase that building with your own assets without having to raise rates?
Yes.
Okay. And was the purchase price of that building I think it's $225,000, is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But regardless, it was under $500,000, is
Yes.
that right? Okay. So, at some point, you had before you a decision on how you're gonna finance that building, right?
Yes.
Okay. And were the options that were in front of you, one, pay for it cash outright?
Yes.
Okay. Two, pay for it cash outright and then put a line of credit against it?
Yes.
Okay. Or three, borrow the money to buy it and keep your cash?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. And was it your understanding that the first two of those, buying cash or buying it for cash and then putting a line of credit against it, as long as that term was under 2 years, did not require Public Service Commission approval.
Yes,
And did you believe that because that's what your council told you?
yes,
Okay. Now, were you also aware that, strike that. Did you also believe at the time that you didn't need a certificate of public need because we didn't already have office space?
yes,
Okay. Now, as we just established, you knew that options 1 and options 2 did not require Public Service Commission, or at least that's what you'd been told.
that's what I've been told, yes, sir.
And that option 3 would require Public Service Commission
Yes.
approval. But we moved forward with the loan prior to approval, is that right?
Yes,
Okay. And did you feel comfortable doing that because of the emergency situation that the water company was in?
yes,
Did you believe at the time, and do you believe now, that option 3 was what was best for the water company and the consumers of Kirksville Water Association?
yes,
And did you believe that because it was the best financial deal? It was a loan at a low rate and a good term?
yes,
Okay. And the only obstacle to that option the timing of the application?
yes,
Because did you feel at the time that if you went through the process and sought approval, that you would lose this building?
yes,
Okay. Unless you went with option 1 or 2?
yes,
Okay. So at some point, the board instructed council to file an application to receive approval for the loan, is that correct?
yes,
Okay. And was it the hope of the board and council that that application would be met with an understanding of kind of the situation we were in and a spirit of collaboration on working on that application?
yes,
And did it become clear to the board pretty quickly that that was not the response from the PSC?
correct,
And was it clear to us that the decision that had been made was put the Public Service Commission in a difficult spot that was not going to be easily resolved?
yes,
Was the decision made at that point to withdraw the petition and just pay the building off?
it was, yes,
And was that done for a couple different reasons? Was it done, one, to show the commission, as was put in the response, that sufficient assets existed to buy the building without having to borrow it?
yes,
Okay. Was it also done to kind of clean the slate so that if we wanted to borrow the money against the building down the road or needed to, that we could file the petition before the debt was incurred?
yes,
Okay. Was there ever any intent to run around or avoid the oversight of the PSC?
no, sir,
Are you aware of any time in your history with the board, both as chair and as a board member, of any adverse action or reprimand by the Public Service Commission and Kirksville Water Association?
no, sir,
Is it important to you that you have a good working relationship with the Public Service Commission?
yes,
Do you regret that this particular situation has resulted in this
I am,
hearing? And
yes, sir.
Okay. After the petition was filed, and actually, I guess, after the Public Service began the investigation, Kirksville Water Association filed a response. And in that response, which I think you had a chance to maybe review that
Yes.
yesterday, as a matter of fact, you signed your name as adopting that response. Do you, as you sit here today, adopt that response?
yes,
Okay. Is there anything that you want to change about that response?
no, sir,
Okay. I guess I just want to end with two things. How do you see your service to Kirksville Water Association? What is it? Why is it important to you? Why do you do it?
I like to give back to the community. I've lived in that area all my life. I was there when the first water line come through. It's a big thing when the water line came through, and we tried to provide water for all customers, all new customers, try to keep everything upgraded. I think we need good, board members to bring the association forward. And so I just, like being able to serve the community and help the community with, their water needs at this time.
And do you believe in this particular case that every decision you made was in the best interest of the members of the Kirksville Water Association?
Yes.
I'll turn to the witness, John.
Before we move on, Mr. Long, you have had, at the outset of this case, following the commission's initial order, a response was filed by Mr. Patterson that attached to it as a adoption of response to indicate that you, as president of the board, affirmatively state that you've read them and agree with the conclusions, and that you signed your name in acknowledgement of the adoption of the response as your formal response. Are you aware of that document?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and do you adopt that response as your testimony in
Yes,
this
sir.
case?
Yes.
Okay. And is there any reason to believe that it's not accurate or doesn't necessarily represent your perspective?
No, sir.
Okay.
Can we just, do you mind to provide everybody a copy just so they have them going forward and?
I think you
Reviews?
have the copies.
What's that?
You should
I
have,
have all of them. Do you mind to hand them to the, to
Sure.
Mr. Patterson and the witness? I think this is. Sorry, do you know how else to get them out?
You should have 5 of everything.
Way more than 5 of the responses.
Yeah, you
There
do.
you go. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
You have 4 witnesses,
Yes.
1 for each of them and 1 for you.
Okay. Thank you. Frederick, do you have any questions?
yes, Your Honor, I do. Good afternoon, Mr. Long.
Good afternoon.
During your time on the board of Kirksville Water Association, what, if any, training have you received in the management of a utility?
As far as management, no, I'm not in the management. No, we got Mr. Owens, it's the manager. We just oversee his management. I did, after I was on the board, started on the board in 2010, I went to a training session that was put on, I guess, by the PSC or something.
Where was that training located?
That was at one of the state park lakes. I cannot remember exactly which one.
And you believe that was in 2010?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you attended any other training of that nature since then?
No, ma'am.
Okay, nothing by Kentucky Rural Water or any association like that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. To the best of your knowledge, how long had the agreement between Madison County Utilities and Kirksville Water about sharing a location and administrative responsibilities been in place?
It was before I came on the board, which that was in 2010. Probably 2000 or before that, probably when Kirksville Water moved in with Madison County Utilities.
Do you know when Madison County Utilities and Kirksville Water started sharing a physical facility?
Well, I'm thinking somewhere around 2000 or something.
Somewhere around 2000?
Mhm. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did the board at Kirksville Water become aware that Madison County Utilities was not going to be renewing the 2017 agreement about the sharing of the building and the sharing of the administrative employees?
It was the summer, the fall of 2019, or not 2019, but 2021.
Well,
Sometime August, probably September, whenever.
Did you receive any written notification from Madison County Utilities?
Not necessarily, no ma'am.
Well, what do you mean by not necessarily?
Well, no, I did not receive any type of written notification.
To the best of your knowledge, did any member of the board or the utility, anybody with the utility, the manager, receive a written notification?
I cannot answer that honestly, whether Mr. Agee received anything at that time.
How was the board notified of?
From the other board verbally.
Okay, well, I need you to explain that to me. I mean, was there some kind of joint board meeting? How did this occur?
We had hired, we were looking for a new employee, and one of their employees decided to work for us, and they kind of got a little upset about it and decided that we didn't need to stay at their location anymore.
So how did their board communicate to your board that they were not going to renew the 2017
Their
agreement?
chairman spoke with Mr. Agee.
Their chairman spoke with Mr. Agee,
My understanding, yes, ma'am.
okay? And how did you personally learn of that?
Mr. Agee informed us at one of our water board meetings.
Are there minutes taken at your water board meetings?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you remember the month that meeting would have taken place?
Not right offhand, but it would, pretty soon before we purchased the building, we had like 6 months to get out, so that would have probably been in, or October of 2021.
Okay, and you purchased the building in November of 2021.
Yes,
So you acted pretty quick once you received notice.
yes, ma'am.
What was the date that you were given to get out of the building?
We had the June 1st of 2022.
Was Mr. Patterson your counsel at the meeting where you received word from Mr. Agee that Madison Utilities District wasn't going to be renewing the agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Was he representing Kirksville Water District at that meeting?
Yes.
Did the board hire or engage the services of anybody to help find a new location, like a realtor or an attorney, to look for real estate?
No, ma'am.
And how did the board become aware of the property at 1613 Fox Haven Drive?
One of the board members had seen the ad for this building for sale and brought it to the rest of the board members' attention and thought it was something we might ought to look at.
Who owned that property at the time when you were looking at it?
I'm not real sure who they are. I did not meet them. There's like three, I think a doctor, and I can't tell you who owned it right offhand.
Do you personally have any business or professional relationship with the folks that were selling that building?
No, ma'am.
To the best of your knowledge, does any other board member for Kirksville Water have a relationship, either business or personal, with the sellers of that building?
No, ma'am.
Who made the decision to purchase the property?
The board,
Was that done in a regularly scheduled board meeting or a special called board meeting?
I believe we had a special called board meeting.
Do you take minutes for special called board meetings?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember what month that meeting would have taken place?
It would have probably been in October. Or, October, November.
Now, prior to renovating the building in any way, did the board have any discussion with legal counsel about the need for a CPCN to do any kind of renovation to a building?
Our understanding from him that we did not need to,
Okay, so is that a yes?
yes.
According to the loan that you took out with First Trust Bank in Richmond to partially fund the cost of the building, when would that loan have matured and come due?
I think it was like a 20-year loan.
Okay, and when was the loan actually paid off?
We paid the loan off in February, March of 2022, after Mr. Patterson filed the paperwork with you, and
Yeah, we have something that's stamped paid, it just doesn't have a date, and there was nothing in the response that indicated when the loan was paid. That's why I was asking.
okay. I cannot give you the exact date, ma'am.
Okay.
We've got that date that, that can be found.
All right. And were you on the board of Kirksville Water back in 2012?
No, ma'am. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes.
You were? You
Yes.
weren't chairman of the board at that time?
No, ma'am.
Okay. But you were on the board, so you would have been aware of an application that was made here at the commission in case number 2012-00488. That was an application for approval to borrow money from Kentucky Rural Water Finance Corporation. Were you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. So by the fact that you filed that application for commission approval, you understood that borrowing money required commission approval at that time,
Yes.
okay? So what did you think was different about this situation versus that situation? If you needed approval in 2012 to borrow money, why wouldn't you have needed approval in 2021?
It was less than $500,000 according to our attorney. We went on the advice of our attorney at the time.
Are you currently now under the belief that if you borrow less than $500,000 that you don't need to get commission approval for it?
Not at this time, no, ma'am.
That is not your currently held belief?
No, I
Okay,
wouldn't be here.
okay. Let me ask you about a loan that appears on Kirksville Water's 2022 annual report, and it also is mentioned in the audited financial statements for Kirksville Water for 2022. It's a loan that was taken out sometime in June of 2022 with First Trust Bank in the amount of $19,500. And it looks to me like it has a 4-year term from looking at the annual report. Are you aware of that loan?
Yes.
Did Kirksville Water Association seek commission approval for that loan?
No,
Why not?
we did not think that we needed to. We went on the advice of our attorney.
Okay. As a post-hearing data request, I'm going to ask for a copy of that note and loan agreement.
Okay.
What reason did your attorney give you for saying that loan did not require commission approval? Just to the best of your understanding.
No, it was a small loan for, to buy a vehicle for our association, and didn't think that we needed, no, it was less than 500,000, so.
What did you buy with that money?
We purchased a vehicle for our association.
What type of a vehicle?
It is a Chevrolet truck.
Okay. And when does that loan come due?
We paid that loan off, didn't, No,
No,
It's all right.
If
We'll get to you all. I'll clean all this up.
if you do or you don't know, that's fine.
I can't remember, sir. It's like a 4-year loan, 5-year loan, something like that. No.
Okay. Are you aware of the fact that in November of 2022, the commission entered an order in this case clarifying that Kirksville Water was to file an application for a rate adjustment by June 30th of 2023?
Yes,
And are you aware that as of today's date, no such application has been filed with the commission?
yes.
Why is that?
At the time, we've been working on our water loss. And that's why we have a new person in charge of the Kirksville Water as far as the field management. We had some high water losses. We was trying to get that under control. And in the meantime, the accountant or CPA that we had asked to fill out for the rate increase has declined to do it. He doesn't feel like that he can do it, so we've been looking for someone else to fill one out for us.
Okay, so explain that to me. What, if any, efforts has Kirksville Water Association taken to comply with the commission's order of November 2022 regarding a rate application?
Our attorney has sent paperwork in, I do believe, concerning,
Where did you file paperwork?
I'm not sure, ma'am.
Have you contacted Kentucky Rural Water and asked for their assistance?
No, ma'am.
Who have you contacted as far as seeking someone to help you file this rate case?
No one that I'm aware of,
You haven't contacted anyone other than the accountant that you normally use?
no.
Okay.
Well, our attorney has spoken with another accountant.
Have you discussed with your attorney the need or the possibility of filing a motion with the commission asking for an extension of time in which to file this rate case?
We had discussed that, yes.
Have you discussed with your attorney or with anyone else the possible repercussions of failing to follow a commission order?
Yes.
To the best of your understanding, what could be the penalty for failing to follow a commission order?
I'm not sure, ma'am.
Okay. Are there any other factors that pertain to your failure to file the rate case, other than the fact that your auditor and accountant has declined to help you fill out the paperwork?
No, ma'am.
Do you have a target date in mind when you might be able to make that filing?
I hope to by the end of this month.
What makes you believe that you can file it by the end of this month?
That is my hope. That's not a guarantee that that can be done, but that is
What's the hope based upon?
that the accountant that our attorney has spoken to is ready to start.
Okay, so you said you hadn't spoken to anyone, but your attorney has procured
Our attorney has spoken to
an
someone.
accountant? Okay. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Vice Chair?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
I understand that that your water association is a volunteer position on the board and that you're not required to have annual training the way paid water district commissioners are.
yes.
Can you see, in light of recent events, the value of some training?
Yes,
So to understand these statutes for yourself?
yes.
And I imagine that would further the interest that you stated that the reasons you're serving on the board is that you want to be able to help your community.
Yes.
That's all the questions I have.
Are you aware of the term CPCN?
Yes,
You generally aware that it means a certificate of public convenience and need?
yeah.
If you didn't have a office, would you agree that you would have a need for an office?
Yes.
Did you know that you needed to seek prior commission approval to enter into a loan?
Yes.
What was the thought process behind asking for approval after the loan had been entered into? I'm just curious how, I guess let me rephrase the question. What was the board meeting like, the discussion at the board meeting like, specifically from your perspective, on the time period either leading up to the loan or soon after the loan and discussing filing the application with the commission after the fact for the approval of it?
At the time, we needed to act fast on this building because there were other people in line wanting to buy it, and if we didn't act fast, we weren't gonna be able to purchase, we were gonna lose this facility. And we knew it would take a while to get, approval through you, due to some of the COVID times that we were having at the time. I know a lot of things were moving slower, and so we decided to, go ahead and purchase the building, and I suppose ask for forgiveness later, which wasn't probably the correct thing to do at the time.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm not saying it's not a violation, I'm just saying, look, if you all had a discussion, you said, it's worth us if we know we're supposed to ask for permission, but we don't want to miss out on this, and it's worth us violating the law, let's just go ahead. That's one thing. If it's, we didn't know we were supposed to do this, we thought it was an exception to the law, that's another thing. But you guys are effectively arguing, your response effectively argues both. That you didn't think you were required to do it, but that you also felt like you had to move so fast, even if you did violate it, didn't matter. Which was it? Were you trying to move quickly to keep it from going through, or did you not think that you needed to seek commission approval for the loan?
At the time, we was just trying to move quickly to not lose the building. We weren't, it wasn't our intentions to violate the law. At the time, we did not think we were violating the law.
Do you think you all do you think that your revenues are sufficient?
Yes.
Okay. Is that why you all are not taking affirmative action to file rate cases?
No.
Okay. So you all were ordered to file a rate case. I'm going from memory here, June 20th of 2022. And you were originally given 6 months. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. What actions did you all take in that 6-month period? Well, let's say 5 months until November. What actions did you all take to start working on a rate case?
Probably not a lot.
Okay. Then again in November, I think it's November here. Let's see here. So that was June 20th. And then on November 7th, of 2022, the commission entered an order saying that you would then have about 7 months from that date until June 30, 2023 to file a rate case. And it should be based on your 2022 annual report. Do we have the annual report filed?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So that annual report would have had to been filed with the commission 3 months ago at least in order to be timely filed. Other than talking to your accountant, who then, your testimony earlier was declined to help file the rate case, have you taken any action, or has the board taken any action by vote to pursue the rate case pursuant to the commission's orders?
No, sir, we spoke to the attorney about, this needs to be, we need to get on this.
Okay. But have you all taken a vote to direct? When you say the attorney, are you
No.
referring to Mr. Patterson?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you all taken a vote to direct Mr. Patterson to engage with somebody?
No, sir.
Okay. So Mr. Patterson, doesn't really matter, but he's working under an understanding based off the conversations that occurred at board meetings. Is that fair?
Yeah,
Is that your impression? That's the only thing you can answer.
Yeah.
That's your impression. Okay.
yes.
The loan you were asked about earlier. Is it a loan for more than 2 years?
No,
The one that was entered into in 2022 is not a multi-year loan for the truck?
no, I think it was a short-term loan.
It wasn't a 4-year loan or a 5-year loan like you said?
No, it's a 2-year loan.
Okay. When you all enter into loans, you all take a vote prior to entering into a loan?
Yes.
Okay. Do the minutes, well, let me ask, after the board votes, who then actually signs the documents on behalf of the organization?
The secretary will sign the minutes, and I sign anything else that needs to be signed.
So like if there's like an associated note, like if the board votes to enter into a loan, you would sign a
Yes.
note? Okay,
I would, and it usually takes 3 of us to sign a note.
okay. And is that just pursuant to your all's organizational documents, the association's requirements?
Yes.
Okay. I understand your response earlier, well, I'll take a step back. Yeah, okay. I understand your response earlier about why you think there was why you think that the loan was not renewed, or the lease, or whatever it was, the agreement with the utility district was not renewed, was at least in part, I took from your response, related to the individual who was previously employed with the district and is now employed with the association. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Are you generally aware, is Mr. Carr involved with the utility district? Do you know who the chair of the Madison County Utility District is?
Mr. Carr.
Okay. Are you generally aware that regarding a Madison County Fiscal Court project related to fiber through water lines?
Yes.
And you all have a relationship with the fiscal court regarding that situation?
Yes.
And so does the utility district, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you all were actually represented jointly by Mr. Patterson, the utility district, and the Kirksville Water Association in a case that the commission was looking at that situation. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know that Mr. Carr was a witness in that case?
Was or was not?
Was a witness,
Yes.
testified in that case?
Yes.
All right. Did you testify in that case?
No.
Okay. Did you watch the hearing by any chance?
Yes.
Okay. It was a long day.
Yes.
Yeah. You got to watch it. I got to be here. Long day on that hearing. Do you remember Mr. Carr speaking specifically about the relationship or lack of between Kirksville Water Association and the Madison County Utilities District?
No, sir. I may have missed that part.
Okay. I just remember something in passing that Mr. Carr said that basically there was, at that time, and the hearing was in August of 2022, there was not much communication between the association and the utility district.
No,
Is that accurate?
yes.
There was not much communication?
As far as boards communicating, no, sir.
Or you and Mr. Carr,
No,
or
sir.
was that just happenstance, or is there, do you all not get along? Do you not see things eye to eye? There seems to be something that I'm missing here, that just because somebody left employment with them and came to you, that they kick you out of the office. I just, we regulate both of you, and it doesn't seem
Yeah.
like, well, it doesn't seem like a disagreement between two utilities that have very close service territories and serve in large part a significant portion of the same county, that it's good for consumers if they can't speak to each other. I just want to make sure.
I don't know that we've really had any reason to have meetings with them over, they've got their water business, we've got our water business, We had a office in their building that, and we came and had board meetings once a month. Some of their workers, dealt with, our workers talking about things, but as far as the boards ever having any type of joint meetings over anything, we never have.
Yeah, but not even like board to board, but just individual commissioners. Did you all ever talk? Individual board members?
No,
And was there a reason why you didn't talk, or was it just happenstance?
Never really had any reason to call any of them for anything, and they, you might, I'm not real sure who always on the Madison County Board.
Well, let me ask you this way. Did you call any of them after they gave you notice they're kicking you out of your office?
No, sir.
Never had any interest about why it happened or whether it could be rectified? You all just went on your way to go buy something else?
When they said they weren't renewing it and we had to be out, yes, that's basically what we did.
Okay. And you all had a joint agreement with staff, is that right? With office, that they could take your payments and you could take your payments?
Yes,
Okay. Now you all don't have that agreement, is that correct?
correct.
So now you have to employ people explicitly for that reason?
Yes,
Okay, and that's an increase in expenses, is that right?
I wouldn't say so.
How not?
From what they were charging us, we've been able to hire people, and do it, efficiently.
Efficiently, so you all looked at it and you're paying people to do it now for the same or less than you were sharing people to do it before?
Yes,
Okay, and you all looked at that and done that review or study or compared the two?
we have compared numbers, yes.
Okay. Have you ever spoken to anyone else on the Kirksville Water Association board, either formally or informally, about consolidation, merger, or regionalization of your all's water utility?
No.
Why not?
I think we do a well enough service for the people, of our district. At this time, I don't see any reason that we would need to consolidate with, Madison County or anyone else.
What would be a reason? I'm just curious. What you think? How would things progress in such a way that would be something you would consider?
I presume that, if we weren't making enough money to, pay our help and keep up the lines and, serve the people, that would be something that we would need to look at, at one time, if that ever happened. But at this time, it's, I don't believe that we're in that, position.
How are you all financially?
We're in, I feel like, in good financial standing.
Based on what?
We have a monthly report from, CPA telling us, given our assets and, non-assets and, you know, how everything equals out.
Okay. So you all lost $158,253 in 2022. You're aware of that?
Yes.
So how is that reflective of a good financial position?
It's not, and that's why we have made a change of staff.
So what is staff gonna fix? I heard you mention water loss earlier.
That has been the main thing of our loss of money is the water loss.
Okay. Do you know what your water loss percent is?
For this month, it's 16%.
Okay. Do you know what I mean, what's it been in the past? What are you all looking
It's been
for?
25 and 30%, 35%.
Okay. And how much is water loss costing you all?
You know, $15,000, $20,000 a month sometimes.
Do you know what you all pay for water? You all don't produce water, right?
No, we buy water from the city of Richmond.
Do you know what you pay for it?
Not not right offhand, no, sir.
So you all lose about 30 million gallons a year in water loss in the most recent years. Does that sound about right? You purchase about 101 million and lose about 30. Equates to about 22.9% water loss.
That's a possibility, yes. That's what it's been the last couple of years, yes.
And what have you all, as a board, instructed the new management to do in terms of water loss?
We've told him that, you know, he needs to get on top of the water loss because we weren't having that done. Well, our last manager was not, you know, looking at it the way he should have been.
I guess what I'm trying to find out, what specifically is your expectation? What have they come and talked to you all about that's going to change your all's water loss? Is it increased monitoring? Do you think it's an issue with your metering? Do you think it's an issue with your calculation of water loss? Is it
Some of
old
it-
pipes? Is it
Some of
breaks?
it's the metering, some of it's the water leaks that haven't been found. There's been, the main thing has probably been the water leaks that, you know, even though it's a small leak, it can add up over time. So, we're getting on top of trying to find more leaks, you know, make sure all the meters are, you know, changed out, reading correct. Some of the older meters, don't read exactly correct.
Are you aware that you said earlier that Richmond sells you all your water,
Yes.
right? Are you aware that recently Richmond, and I say recently, last year or two, Richmond increased the rates that they sell you all water?
Yes.
Okay. So your all's water loss on your annual report was about 22%. When you all filed that, that's water loss that you don't know what happened.
Correct.
There's a bigger number called unaccounted for water, which is, or for an updated period when you all passed through that rate increase, was 24% water loss. Under your all's 2022 annual report, which I asked earlier, you all lost $153,000. You remember that?
I remember you saying that, yes.
Okay, and that's not new information to you though, right? I mean, you were aware that your net income was negative in 2022?
Yes.
All right, so you all lost $158,253. Do you know how much money you would save if your water loss was $0? Or if your water loss was zero? Zero unaccounted for water? If your new management fixed all leaks and everything was perfect and there was no water loss, do you know how much money that would save you?
It's been $153,000.
Well, our staff calculated it in your all's pass-through rate increase, and your entire water loss is costing you $119,000. So you'd still be losing $36,000 a year, right? Or more than $30,000 a year. And that's if you had zero water loss. Do you know how many utilities in Kentucky have zero water loss?
I wouldn't think very many.
Zero. Everybody's got
Yeah.
5, 8, 9%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even if you fix all your water loss, your revenues are still negative, right?
That's your figures, yes, sir.
Well, they're your figures. I mean,
Well,
these are it's your annual report. It's
Yes.
your water loss. It's a commission order from a year ago when you all passed this through. So you've got this situation where you were ordered more than a year ago to file a rate case. We've got nothing. The commission gave an extra, I think, 7 months additional time to file the rate case. Just nothing. You haven't filed anything. I'm asking you earlier what would bring you to have a discussion about consolidation, regionalization, merger, just even thinking about it. And you said an insufficiency of revenues, which you have per your annual report. Your primary argument for the reason for that is water loss. Even if you 100% fixed your water loss, you still have an insufficiency of revenues. You still have a negative net income. What am I missing? What else? What other considerations are there that you all would either actively pursue an increase in revenues, or have conversations about what the alternatives are?
We've just let the raise of revenue slip by, which is, partly our fault, as a board, not, discussing more about it, and, or, I guess, leaving some of the detail up to our attorney to help find someone to, do the raise increase. But as far as, having conversation with the other board about consolidation, we haven't really, thought about that, 'cause at the time, we didn't believe that we were in financial, disarray enough to, look into that situation.
And I wasn't specifically asking, I want to make clear, I wasn't specifically asking about the Madison County Utilities District, other than you all shared a building with them a year ago. You guys are almost as close to Lancaster as you are to Richmond, aren't you, out there?
Yes, we border, Garrett County, and we have some water line in Garrett County.
And Berea's, I guess, just as close to Richmond as you all are too?
Yes.
Yeah. To this day, you all still never got anything in writing from the Madison County Utilities District about getting out of the office?
No, sir.
And other than informal conversations with Mr. Agee, you're unaware of any communications with the board of the Madison County Utilities District regarding the situation?
No.
You aware that after the commission entered the order in November, in November the 7th, there was about a week later, maybe 2 weeks later, some data request responses due by the utility. But after the commission gave Kirksville an extra 7 months, to file the rate case again after the 5 had already gone, that the commission completely let this case sit for months until it set this hearing in May. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
And so there was we weren't necessarily keeping you busy with regard to this investigation at the same time that you all had an opportunity to go out and file the rate case. Would you agree?
Yes.
How are the Kirksville Water Association board members voted in?
By members of the association.
And are members synonymous with customers? Are there customers of the association that aren't members, or do you have to be a member to be a customer?
You have to be a member to be a, customer, or a customer to be a member.
Okay, they're the same.
Yes.
Okay. And then you all have an annual meeting that board members are voted on. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Is your all's term a year, or do you all have lengths of terms beyond a year?
They're 3-year terms.
3-year terms. Are they staggered, or are they election
Staggered.
for everybody at the same time?
Staggered is 2, 2, and 1.
2, 2, and 1. Okay. So this last time up, Mr. Webb was up for re-election.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Was there anybody else up for re-election, or was he one of the ones?
Mr. Powell.
Mr. Powell was also up for re-election and got re-elected, right? Okay. And so there are 5 members, is that
Yes.
right? Are you made aware by anybody at the district, or anybody at the association, we already had one hearing today with the water district, about the existence or the timing of the training that you were discussing earlier with Ms. Frederick? You mentioned that when you first came on in 2010, you received the PSC training.
Yes.
I'm just curious, we have that 3 or 4 times a year that we host here, or at Jenny Wiley, or down at Kentucky Lake, or all over the places. And then we approve people to do trainings. Kentucky Rural Water Association, I don't know if you all are a member. Stolkeen and Ogden. There's a number of utilities that ask us to approve their training. Northern Kentucky Water District, Oldham County, Hardin County District Number 2, and those are open for people
Yes.
to come in. Are you ever made aware of those? Does the management indicate to you all, hey, we want to let you know that we got this email from the PSC about water commissioner training, if you are interested? I'm just curious, are you ever made aware of it?
Every now and then they may mention there's some training going on.
Okay. If you all attend training like that, is that paid for by the association?
It normally is, yes.
Okay. So there's, like, if you all need to come here, right? Well, I guess if you came here, you could probably come up and go back in a day. It's only
Yes.
about a little over an hour, right?
Yes.
Jenny Wiley would be 2 hours maybe for you, 2.5 hours?
Yes.
Okay. So if y'all are going to go to Jenny Wiley, you may want to stay the night, do 2 days, something like that. The association would arguably pick that cost up, right? It wouldn't be an out-of-pocket expense for you all?
We would discuss about it, but we'd probably pay for it, and some
Okay.
of us may pay our own way.
Okay.
However it won't.
But I guess what I'm trying to ask is, would you agree that there's a value to the association of having its board members attend those types of trainings?
Yes.
Do you all ever get any additional training on things like board processes, board procedures, voting, how to, one of the presentations we've done in the past is how to manage your accountant, how to manage your engineer, how to manage your board attorney. What questions do you ask of them? What do they need to be asking of you? Is it a good practice to get a new accountant every few years or a new auditor. I think best practices, I've seen every 3 years you get a new auditor. Do you all ever have anybody come in and talk to you all about that?
No, sir.
Okay. How long do your all's meetings usually last?
Couple hours,
Okay. And do you set the agenda for those meetings?
yes.
Okay. Do you do it ahead of time in consultation with management?
Sometimes I do, yes.
Okay. And then do you convey out ahead of time the agenda to the other to the other members of the board, or do people get the agenda when they get there?
Most times when they get there, sometimes if we, got someone that's wanting to come in and speak to the board, give everybody a heads up, we got someone wanting to come in and speak to the board about, water meter or trying to get access to water.
Okay. You got other utilities in the area. I know Mr. Patterson represents Madison County Utilities District. Do you have an engineer?
We have one on, not full-time, but we
Kind
have.
of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our arm's length, but they come
Yes.
if you have questions, kind of
Yes,
thing.
yes,
Okay.
they're at every meeting, yes.
Okay. Do you know whether they work for any of the utilities around you?
Yes,
Okay.
I think they do, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so y'all got Berea down here, Richmond, Madison County Utilities District, Garrett County Waters, we'll just call them Garrett County because I don't know if they're a water district or a water association.
Okay.
Lancaster, I think, may have their own water utility. Do you all have any other neighboring water utilities that you can think of?
No,
Okay. So you got all these utilities. Do you ever talk to any of them about joint purchasing? About buying meters? See if you all need to buy new meters, go in together and buy them by bulk in one order as opposed to just you all buying them yourself?
no, sir.
Are you aware, insofar as you might need it, are you aware on how to find the statutes and regulations that apply to the Kirksville Water Association or apply to you as an association chair?
We have statutes at the office, and also you can go online and, through the PSC and Google and find the different statutes.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to ask, you know how to find them, should you be interested in the subject?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. 1 second, Mr. Long. Mr. AG is the only respondent to any of the questions, right? The first and second data requests?
Yes, I believe.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we got here. Oh, I know what I was gonna, I'd like to provide you a copy of this, just so I have an appreciation for it, because I think we may have a difference in testimony here. I've got this, counsel, if you don't mind, Mr. Patterson, if you could hand this to your witness. Those are the data requests, DR2 there, that Mr. AG responded to. Do you see the document I handed you that's titled Kirksville Water Association's Response to Staff's Second Request for Information?
Yeah,
Do you see that at the bottom, Mr. AG's got his digital signature there?
yeah.
Okay, and so question one was about the written documentations about whether about the utility district giving you all notice. We've talked about that already, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't provide you all that you're aware of written notice. And that's what Mr. AG responded to. Do you see Mr. AG's second response? And sorry, it's the second sentence of the same response. I apologize. That's my mistake. There's a second sentence in a response to number one.
Yes, I see.
So earlier you indicated you found out through Mr. AG. Is that right?
Correct.
But you don't necessarily know how Mr. AG found out. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. So it could have been that Mr. AG found out through Mr. Patterson.
Possible, but
Well, I guess anything's possible, right?
anything's
Yeah, it
possible, yeah.
could have gotten a telegraph about it. But all you know is that you were, I just want to make sure I understand your testimony. You were informed by Mr. AG, who was your all's manager.
Yes.
Okay. And was that directly to you, outside of a board meeting, or at a board meeting?
That was at a board meeting.
At a board meeting. So the other members, if they were at the board meeting, would have remembered Mr. AG bringing, or should, they were there?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Mr. Patterson, do you have any redirect?
I just want to be sure the record's clear that the loan terms on the June 2022 loan were less than 4 years, it was 2-year loan terms. I think he said that on your question.
Yeah, and I think what we'll do is just documentary, seek a post-hearing data request for a copy of the note.
We have.
What's that? We have a copy of the note?
We don't have one, but we are preparing a post-hearing data request that has that item on it.
Do you have anything else, Mr.
No.
Patterson? Okay, all right, thank you very much, Mr. Long. We'll go ahead and try to take another witness, real quick, and then we'll take a short break, because we've been going for about an hour and a half. I may be back in time to start the hearing back up. If not, Vice Chair Hatton will, and I'll join. I've got to step out for just a minute. If you would like to call another witness.
I'm not sure that I do. I mean, this.
Yeah, well, we're gonna, one way or another, we're gonna make sure everybody got the trip worth. If for nothing else, I need to call Mr. Owens for him to adopt Mr. AG's testimony on the stand, and then I just want to make sure that the other two board members were at the meeting and see if Ms. Frederick has any other questions. So if you can call him or we can, I just figure it'd be easier if you did. So,
Okay, that'd be fine. Call Mr. Owens.
I'm sorry.
Aaron Owens,
Thank you.
AARONOWENS.
please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury? Yes. Please have a seat. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Paul Aaron Owens. My address is 1001 Countryside Drive, Richmond, Kentucky.
Counsel?
Thank you. Mr. Owens, please state how you're employed.
I'm the manager,
Of?
Kirksville Water,
Okay. How long have you been employed by Kirksville Water Association?
since 2016.
May I approach? I'm gonna
You
hand
may.
you documents called Kirksville Water Association's response to staff's second request for information. Have you seen that document before?
No,
Were you aware, though, as this process unfolded of the issue and of the events that Mr. Agee was dealing with as manager related to this investigation?
could you ask again? I'm sorry.
Sure. Were you aware of this situation as it unfolded?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Would you and Mr. Agee have conversations about this situation as it moved along?
Yes,
Okay. All right. Would you also have conversations with other office staff about things as they moved along?
yes,
Okay. Are you comfortable adopting those responses as your own?
yes.
Is there any reason for you to believe that anything on there is inaccurate or untrue?
No.
Before you sit down, Mr. Patterson, do you mind to hand, just to get ahead of it, the first data request to Mr. Owen? Thank you.
Your Honor, could we also present the witness with the exhibits that were attached to those responses? Because I do have some questions about the receipts
That'd be
that were
fine.
a part of, I believe, DR2.
Here's an entire version, Mr. Patterson. It's for both. That's DR2, that's DR1, entire copies.
It's got exhibits back here, all the different receipts from the.
Oh, I got
Okay.
you. Okay.
This is, let's do this. Contract between county and KWA office.
Okay.
This is-
So I'll tell you what I'll do, Mr. Patterson. I do want to give Mr. Owen just a minute to look at those. So let's just take a 10-minute recess.
Okay.
And then we'll come back. The Vice Chair Hatton will start the hearing back, and we'll just continue and ask the questions to Mr. Owen, make sure he's fine with adopting the attachments to the second hearing request and the entirety of the first hearing request. But I want to make sure he has plenty of time to look at it.
Okay.
It's very unfair to ask you to adopt it if you hadn't had a chance. So
Yeah, thank you.
we'll take about a 10-minute recess, and then we'll start the hearing back.
Okay.
Have you, oh, sorry, Candace.
Okay, now you're good.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Can you hear me okay?
I can,
All right, Mr. Owens, have you had all the time you need to look over those documents?
yes,
Okay. And are you able to adopt those as your own responses?
yes.
Staff, have you had opportunity to question yet?
No.
Okay. And did you have some more direct?
I do not, no.
Okay, go ahead, staff.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Owens. Thank you for joining us here. I know that you just adopted the responses to the data requests, and I'm particularly interested in the receipts that were filed in response to data request 2. Have you had a chance to look over those?
I did, I looked through them.
Alrighty. You were employed by the Water Association when the Water Association was kind of rehabilitating that building on Fairhaven Drive for use as an office, is that correct?
Yes,
Were you involved with any of the work to retrofit the building or hiring any of the people to retrofit the building?
I was in the process, yes.
Okay, so you are familiar with the work that is represented by those receipts that are attached to that response, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Other than the receipts that are in that response and the work that's represented by those, are you aware of any other construction or work or expense that the Water Association went to or has gone to retrofit that building for use as a utility headquarters?
We had to build lobby, I guess. You know, when we first bought the building, it was open, you know, so we built the lobby, put a glass and everything through
So
it.
is that the glass receipts and the drywall
Yes.
installation receipts that are part of that?
But I personally built that,
Okay,
you know, so it's, before I was at the water company, I built, you know. So it's, so I built that, and then the glass, you know, with the cutouts in it and the door and
okay.
that, the drywall, that's where that came from.
Okay. Any other work that would have been necessary or done to retrofit the building other than what's represented in those receipts? Is there anything that was done that's not documented there?
No, the main thing I want to check on is the drive-through window.
Yes, sir? I think the drive-through window.
Is that the SBS?
Yes,
Okay.
it's got several pages.
It does, yes, ma'am. Yeah, as far as anything else, no, not that I can think of.
Okay,
That's not in the receipts. We put the fence around it and, not that I can think of right
Okay.
offhand.
now, when did you take the position as manager of the association?
May
May of 2023?
23, yes, ma'am.
And what position did you hold with the association prior to that?
Field supervisor.
In your current position, do you attend the board meetings?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your role at those meetings?
Just to present the board with like the water loss and the projects we have going, and just to kind of keep them up to date on everything that's happened the previous month.
Have you and the board discussed the filing of a rate case?
No,
That has not come up at any of the board meetings that you've attended since you took this job?
It has been talked about, but I don't think anything has been done. So,
There's not been a vote taken on it to your
no.
knowledge? Okay, that's fine. Have you obtained any training specific to your responsibility as a manager at a water utility?
Well, I go to I have to get my continuing education hours.
As a certified operator?
Yes.
Department of
And
Water.
I have to get 24 of those every 2 years, 24 hours. So the different classes, I have been to management ones and Berea where I've sat with other managers. I wasn't in a manager position then,
Right.
but, I've sat with those. So to answer the question, yes.
Okay. Are you aware that the training that the commission puts on, that the staff conducts, actually qualifies for some continuing education, Department of Water
Yes.
hours? Okay, so you are aware of that?
I have, yeah. I think I've sat in this office and got them before.
Okay. All right, thank you. I have no further questions for you, sir.
Okay. Sorry.
Mr. Owens, as a manager, you're an employee of the board.
Yes.
Do you also sit on the board?
No,
You don't vote on board decisions or anything like that?
no.
Are you asked for input about whether, you have an opinion about whether you need permission to build things or incur debt?
Yes.
Okay, and did you think that you needed permission from, or approval from PSC before you incurred debt or had expenses for purchasing this new headquarters?
Do you mean it,
I can ask it a different way.
yeah, if you would care.
Did you have an opinion about that, or did you voice an opinion about whether you thought from your training or in your experience that permission would be needed?
Yes.
You were asked an opinion?
Or, an opinion, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
Not that I remember.
Do you have one? Do you have an opinion about whether or not that was required?
If it needs to be, like, yes, I think it needs to be.
Is that just based on what you know now?
Well, I mean, a lot of it, but, I mean, I have been to the classes before, it's not all based on what I know now, I guess.
I mean, were you trying to tell them at the time, y'all need permission for this?
No, I don't think, I didn't have much of an input, then. I was under Mike, it's, or,
Do you have redirect? No. Okay. Any reason you couldn't be excused now?
No, he can be excused.
Okay. You can be excused from the witness stand. Thank you.
okay, thanks.
And Mr. Patterson, can you call your next witness?
Yes, call Alfred Winkler. Yeah, that'd be fine.
And Mr. Patterson, what all does he have up there, or has he had an
He's
opportunity
got
to see?
Mr. Winkler or Mr. Owens?
Mr. Winkler.
He doesn't have anything with him. Those are,
I
those are,
only have
those are
what
the
paper they
exhibits that
give me.
Commissioner handed here.
I just wanted you handed me.
Is that what you?
Yeah,
oh,
that's
so
what he handed me a while ago.
He's got the response Commissioner wanted him to adopt.
Okay. Which is 1 or 2?
That is our response to staff's first,
No, it's the response to the opening order.
response to the opening order.
And we need him to adopt the
Yes,
others
we do.
as well.
Yes, we
If
do.
you have it in your hand, can you hand him the responses 1 and 2?
Madam Vice Chair, I don't believe any of the commissioners signed those responses. They were sponsored in their entirety by the former manager, Mike Agee. None of the commissioners certified those responses.
So we don't need him to adopt?
No, we don't.
Okay.
But we do need them to adopt the response to the opening order.
Okay. Thank you.
I think those are your alls,
Appreciate that. All right.
just so you know.
What you say, Joe?
All right. Mr. Winkler, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you may be seated. Please tell us your full name and address for the record.
Alfred Winkler, 1694 Poozy Ridge Road, Richmond, Kentucky.
Mr. Patterson?
Thank you. Mr. Winkler, how long have you been on the board of Kirksville Water Association?
December of 18.
Have you always lived in the service area in which Kirksville Water Association
Yes.
serves? Okay. Have you had an opportunity to review what is titled Kirksville Water Association's response to the opening order of the Public Service Commission?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything in that order that you disagree with, think is inaccurate, or would like to change?
No.
Are you comfortable adopting that response as your response?
Yes.
Okay. In fact, there was an adoption of a response that was tendered with that order that had your name electronically signed. Did you give permission for your signature to be placed on that document?
Yes.
Okay. Earlier it was addressed, the chairman asked whether or not there'd ever been any discussion about a merger between Kirksville Water Association and Madison County Utilities. You live in the service area, you are out and about as a board member. Have you ever been approached by any members of the public of what they might feel about a merger?
Yes.
Okay. And how would the general customer of Kirksville Water Association feel about a merger with Madison County Utilities?
When, ones I have talked to said the association, Kirksville Water Association had been its own little association for years, and they would rather it stay as its own, association. I've had quite a bit of people tell me that.
Is there a general fear amongst people in the Kirksville Water Association service area that they would not receive the same service from Madison County Utilities that they would receive from Kirksville Water?
Yes.
And is that because of the rural nature of the service area?
Yes.
So are there parts of the service area that are pretty far removed from anywhere downtown?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And does that service area take a pretty distinct knowledge of the lines and the areas in order to service that area?
Yes.
Okay. It's pretty unique properties where the lines run.
Yes.
Okay, all right. There's been a lot of discussion that you've been here to hear about the position of whether or not you knew that Public Service Commission approval was required in order to enter into a loan. You don't deny that you knew that, right?
No, I don't deny I knew it. Yes.
All right. And that was made clear to you from the beginning, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And was it your understanding that, or was it your hope that the PSC would value the merit of your application as opposed to the timing of it?
Yes.
Okay. And did you hope that because you believed you had two options in front of you that wouldn't have required PSC approval at all?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not that you're arguing out of both sides of your mouth, right?
Right.
You're saying we could have done it this way, which required no approval at all. We chose this way, even though the timing would be bad, because we thought it was best for the water company. Is that a fair statement of
Yes.
what you thought about at the time?
Yes.
Okay. As you sit here today, do you still believe that even though we've paid the loan off and withdrew the petition, that it would have been best for Kirksville Water Association customers had that loan been approved?
Yes.
Is it important to you that the rate case be filed timely and correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Have you made that clear to your counsel that it was his job to make sure that get done and get done appropriately?
Yes.
Okay. Is it your understanding that there was concern about the level of water loss that existed in the company and how that might affect a rate case?
Yes.
Okay. And were you as a board, you particularly as a member, trying everything you could to reduce the water loss as your top priority for the company?
Yes.
Okay. Did you in fact even take the steps of promoting a new manager for the sole, not the sole purpose, but for the primary purpose of reducing water loss?
Yes.
Okay. Is it your opinion, and is it an opinion shared, do you think, shared by and large by every member of the board, that they see the PSC as a collaborative agency that you need to rely on for help?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever felt like you needed to hide anything from them or do an end around?
No.
Okay. In fact, you feel comfortable calling them and asking for help if you ever need it?
Yes.
Okay. Would you consider this a large misunderstanding in your opinion?
Yes.
Okay. Is one of the reasons why that the board decided to pay the loan off to communicate to the PSC, we're sorry?
Yes.
The chairman talked about the losses in 2022. Is it your opinion that a significant portion of the losses in 2022 would be one-time expenses associated with the rehab of the building?
Yes.
And do you fear the addition of an office space impairing the ability of the water company to do its business?
Yes.
You do fear it, or you do not fear it?
No, I do not fear it. No, I do not fear it, no.
Okay.
I misheard you.
Sure, no, it's fine, it's fine. So, you've also heard mentioned a couple of times the word Certificate of Public Need, CPN. Do you remember conversations with your counsel in which it was explained that it was his opinion that because the purchase price was under $500,000, because it did not duplicate services, because it was in the extension of ordinary business, that you all did not require a CPCN?
Yes.
Okay. And did you rely on counsel
Yes.
for that bit of advice?
Yes.
Whether it be me or some other counsel in the future, would that be the source of information for you for that kind of question going forward?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm in the
What
council.
what is your background?
Well, I work for, I'm getting ready to retire from wastewater,
But you don't have any background in administrative law?
No.
Never run a business in which you had to comply with administrative regulations?
No.
Don't have any need to regularly interpret statutes?
No.
Wouldn't necessarily know where to go to find statutes to read?
No.
Okay. But you are savvy enough to hire folks that can do that for you that you trust?
Yes.
Yes.
As I asked Chairman Long, why do you do this?
I do it just to help the community. I've lived in the community all of my life. I was asked to be on the board by an older, when he was getting ready to leave the board. It's been old, like to keep somebody in old territory and everything, and it's just to help the community, just to be a.
Have you found this event to be pretty stressful?
Yes, in the last years.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is. Have you found it to be stressful because you take it very seriously, your obligation to the Kirksville Water Association?
Yes.
And to the people?
Yes.
Okay. And is it fair to say that you want to do everything right?
Yes.
And let me ask, would you have ever proceeded this way had you not believed that you had the financial wherewithal and assets to do it without the help of the PSC or without the approval of the PSC?
What now?
Would you have ever proceeded the way in which you did without the knowledge that you had sufficient assets to buy it outright without PSC approval?
No.
Okay. Nothing further.
It's on initial or redirect.
Initial.
Ms. Furtick?
Thank you. This may have been asked and answered, and if so, I apologize, but how long have you been on the board for Kirksville Water Association?
December of 18.
And how long have you served as vice chairman?
Let's see here. think that would have been like December of 19.
Okay. At your board meetings, are minutes kept?
Yes, ma'am.
Who takes the minutes?
Joanna,
I'm sorry?
a woman that we have, Joanna, takes them, well, she takes our minutes. I don't know what I would.
Is she an employee of the association?
No, ma'am. She takes the
Is
minutes.
she a member of the board?
Yes, I guess she would be a member. No, she wouldn't be a member. She's hard in to, I guess we pay her a little bit to take the minutes every month, yes.
Okay. What, if any, role does your secretary, Mr. Sanders, have with the minutes? Does he keep does he maintain those, or does he do anything with those?
He, at the end of every meeting, he'll sign off on something. That's about all, as far as, the row with them, I don't,
At the board meetings, do you take a vote to approve the minutes from the past meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. As a post-hearing data request, I just wanted to let you all know that we're going to be asking for the minutes from all regular and specially called board meetings in the years 2021, 2022, and 2023. That will be a continuing request throughout the course of this proceeding until a final order is issued by the commission. Just wanted to make you aware of that. Since your time on the board, have you had any training at all in board relations or management of a water utility?
No, ma'am. I took, that would have been, after I got elected to the board, I took a training. Yes, one training.
What year did you do that?
That would have been in 18.
Even though you came on in December?
I think I told you wrong a while ago. I think my training was in December, but I think I come on in September. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did you go for that training that you did in December?
Here.
Okay. And other than that, have you received any other training?
In the water?
Right.
Yes. No, ma'am, not in the water.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the property on Foxhaven Drive where your headquarters is now located.
Yes, ma'am.
From whom did the association purchase that property?
It was, like Mr. Long had said, it was some doctors. I want to think it was a couple of doctors, and maybe another partner. I really don't even know their names. I couldn't answer
Okay.
that. It,
Who handled the negotiation of that offer to purchase on behalf of the association?
that would have been the realtor and our, at that time, the board was answering, through it with the board, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Well, I thought Mr. Long testified that y'all did not employ a realtor or go through a realtor.
Well, I mean, all I know is the realtor had it, so had to contact Mike Agee had contacted whoever had it.
So Mike Agee would have contacted a listing agent for that?
Yes, ma'am,
for
whoever
that?
had it, yes, ma'am.
So who would have negotiated and signed an offer to purchase? Anytime I bought property, you sign an offer and you present it it's presented by the realtor to the owner of the property. So who would have negotiated that offer to purchase on behalf of the Water Association?
I think Mike Agee was talking to the realtor about the purchase, and once we come to the agreement, I think I did sign the purchase agreement.
Okay. Before you signed that purchase agreement,
Yes,
are you
ma'am.
talking, you're talking about the loan, or are you talking about an offer to purchase?
The offer to purchase it.
Okay, so you signed the offer to purchase. Before you signed the offer to purchase, did you have any conversation with Mr. Patterson or any other lawyer about whether or not the association needed prior permission from the commission to purchase an office facility?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you did have such a conversation?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was your understanding?
My understanding was that we did need it, we did need permission to purchase it, but we was paying so much down, best I remember, it's been a while, but we was just getting, $174,000, it was under 200.
Yeah, I'm not talking about borrowing money to do it, I'm just talking about buying an office facility in general. Was it your understanding that you did or that you did not need permission from the commission in order to do that?
My understanding that I did not, for that price.
And you think that the reason you did not need permission is somehow tied to the price you paid for that building?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. To the best of your knowledge, do either you or any of the other board members that were on the board at the time of the purchase have any personal or business relationship with any of the people that were selling the building?
No, ma'am.
Do any of the board members or you yourself, to the best of your knowledge, have any relationship to the realtor that listed that building?
No, ma'am.
Now, once you purchased the building, why was commission approval not sought to renovate the building to place it in service as an office?
Why was it not
Yes, sir, why was it not?
when we purchased it?
When you purchased it and decided to renovate it, why did you not seek commission approval?
Well, it didn't need a whole lot of money to do it. I mean, at that time, so we just didn't, it was in pretty good shape. Besides, we needed I think a drive-through window and put in and just a little bitty, place for somebody to sit in a little window to walk up,
So again, that decision was tied to the amount of money that you were spending to do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's talk about the 2022 First Trust Bank loan.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you vote to approve that loan?
The truck loan? Yes, ma'am.
I'm assuming
Yes,
that's,
ma'am.
it was for a truck, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Who signed that note?
That would have been, I think Randall Webb and maybe Wayne, yeah.
And to the best of your understanding, why was commission approval for that loan not sought?
Because it was a 2-year term,
Okay. Can you explain to me why your audited financial statements and your annual report for 2022 indicate that it has a 4-year term?
Well, I heard you say that earlier. I didn't realize that did. That's a miss, I would think that would be a miss, something with the bank, It was a 2-year term, maybe renewable in 2 year, might have been why it was on there, but it was just a 2-year term.
You think Mr. Powell, the treasurer, might know more about the specifics of that? Would he be better to testify?
He could, yes, remember.
Okay. Tell me what, if any, discussions the board has had with Mr. Patterson or any other attorney regarding the possible penalties that the board members personally could receive for failing to follow the commission's order to file a rate case?
It's been, I know we've, it's been brought up maybe once or twice, that we could do some penalties. We could get into some penalties, but, it was my knowledge, honestly, that I thought it was all been taken care of. I don't know how, looked over it, but
Okay. And are you aware that the subject matter of this particular proceeding, which is the actual purchase of the building and the borrowing of the money with which to purchase the building, which are two completely different things, that both of those actions are actions that potentially you personally could receive a financial penalty for participating in? Are you compensated at all for your service to the Kirksville Water Association?
yes, ma'am, we get $300 a month.
Okay. Now, have you had any instruction or training or any type of education in how to protect yourself from personal liability, penalties, as your role as a board member there for the Kirksville Water Association?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You've not sought any private advice?
I have asked, before about you know, that we have insurance to cover our personal, you know, if, you know, as a board, we make a wrong decision or do something, you know, that we didn't mean to do, you know. You know, like I say, we would never want to do nothing wrong for the board or, you know, I worked awful hard all my life to lose everything I got for a $300 water board, you know, so, you know, I mean, if that, you know.
Can you tell me what, if any, measures Kirksville Water Association has put in place with their current management practices to avoid this kind of proceeding in the future?
Well, we've got, like we said, you know, we've got rid of Mr. Agee, we've got Aaron on board, you know, with, listening here today and going through and actually, you know, some talking on the way over this morning. We all have discussed, I know in the truck, all of us was talking about, yeah, more training. You know, I have to have training, I have to have 24 hours every odd year for what I do in the sewer, wastewater, you know. Training does help, you know, I think that, you know, going forward, that we should require more training, you know.
When you sought the advice of Mr. Patterson about whether or not this transaction or the loan associated with it required prior commission approval, and he told you that it did not, what about his response? Why did you have confidence in what he told you?
Well, like I said, he's an attorney, you know, I don't know the rules and, you know, the regs and stuff on all of that stuff, you know, I'm just, you know, a high school graduate, so, you know, I would've figured he would've known, you know.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just for the record, note my objections to anything related to attorney-client privilege or to her characterization of what I may or may not have told them.
And the witness can only speak to his impression or what he took from the situation, so that's, otherwise it's all, well,
I'm gonna,
give it the weight it's afforded, so.
Yeah,
Ms.
thank you.
Frederick?
thank you. Sir, when do you expect the Kirksville Water Association to file the rate case that the commission has ordered be filed?
As soon as possible, I mean.
What does
hopefully-
that mean?
Hopefully by the end of the month, you know,
Okay.
we can get it done. And, you know, I will say, you know, it had been mentioned a time or two, and personally, I didn't feel that Mr. David Smith wouldn't have done it. And we just found this out pretty quick, you know, he didn't feel like doing it, and, you know, so now we have. went
Mr.
on-
Smith was the accountant that
Accountant, yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Long testified about?
Yes, he was, and we're gonna have to get a new one. I don't remember his name, but it was brought up, the new guy that's gonna do it. I honestly
When did
can't
you
remember.
personally become aware that Mr. Smith wasn't going to be able to make that filing?
Maybe 5 days ago, at the most,
Okay. And under what circumstances did you become aware of that?
in a meeting, you know, just speaking that, you know, David didn't feel good about doing it. you know.
Was that a board meeting of the association?
Yes, just.
Who was present at that meeting?
The board members and Judd and, Ashley may have been there, or office manager.
Okay, to the best of your knowledge, who specifically is working on that rate application now?
To the best of my knowledge, Mr. Patterson, our attorney, has got, a guy working on that.
Okay. Earlier, when Mr. Patterson was questioning you on direct examination, I think he made a statement, and you agreed with it, that the application somehow was delayed because of water loss, or we were addressing water loss?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain that a little bit? I really didn't understand it.
The water loss is, you know, like they said, you know, we've been in, you know, with the dressing, I'm talking about to try to get a rate increase, just what, you know, I'm learning, I'm new, I'm learning from the older board members. You know, it's hard to get a water loss, a rate increase when you have that much of a water loss, and we just couldn't control it. You know, we would have water loss of 20, 25, 30, you know, up and down. Every now and then it might get down here, and we was just trying to get that fixed. You know, we talked before we, you know, asked for a rate increase, you know.
Are you aware that in recent years, the commission has awarded surcharges for water utilities to specifically address water loss when their water loss routinely exceeds 15%?
You know, I might have heard that, you know, I hear so much, I
To
can't.
the best of your knowledge, has
Best
the
of my
board ever
knowledge.
discussed that with Mr. Patterson?
No, ma'am, I don't know if I have, you know, that's my knowledge.
Okay. Those are all the questions I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't have questions.
You know you have to file a rate case, right?
Yes, sir.
Are you under the impression that it's a requirement or a suggestion?
No, it's a requirement, yes, to do it.
So what does it matter what your water loss is?
Well,
I'm saying, well, who cares if it's at 9% or 19% when you're under an obligation to do something?
yeah, well, yeah, I see what you're saying. Over the years, I'd heard, you know, it'd be best to, you know, if you had it, you know, it leveled out, it just was up and down, you know, so, yeah, I know we're supposed to do it, you know.
Okay, so you all waited to do it, let me ask you this way. You were supposed to file it in December, right?
Yes.
And did you all take any action to file it ahead of December?
I thought it was been filed, you know.
What do you mean you thought it would have been
I
filed?
thought it was been filed.
Well, let me ask you this way. Did you ever approve a check or take a vote to direct Mr. Patterson or to direct anybody else at the district to hire somebody, to pay somebody to do the rate study or to do the rate application for you all?
We had talked about Mr. Smith doing the rate increase.
You all voted on that?
Yes, I think that's in there, yes.
All right, so we'll check the minutes. So you think you voted to get Mr. Smith to do the rate increase last year or this year?
I remember Mr. Smith was talked about, I don't know when it was, you know.
Well, you were supposed to make the rate filing in December of last year, and then in November, the commission said in 7 months from November you can file it. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
And so had you taken action to take a vote or anything last year?
I think we took a vote now, you know, without the minutes in front of me, I can't remember everything that's in the minutes, but, you know, I
Okay.
think we
When
took
do
it.
you think, just think about this, when do you believe that you found out from Mr. Smith that he was not going to do the rate case for you all?
When I heard about Mr. Smith not doing it, it's been about 5, maybe 6 days ago or something.
Okay, so today's July the 6th.
Yeah, about the first, you know,
So
around.
Friday, Saturday,
Yeah,
Sunday?
something, you know, when I heard he wasn't
But
going
it's
to.
been less week is what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Which would have been, okay, so Friday was the 30th.
Yes,
Okay. Friday was the day you were supposed to have it filed with us.
yes.
That is when you found out that the person you believe you voted to engage with declined to
Okay.
even take it.
Yes. Well, I had heard he, yeah, I mean, he declined to take it, and we was looking further into finding this other guy to do it.
When you all take votes to do this, do you all direct management to do something? Do you direct Mr. Patterson to do it? Do you direct the chair to do it?
Well, when we take votes to do something, you know, usually like if it's management will take and he will write, you know, take votes to do it, and then, the office manager's in there, you know, she'll see that it's done, but, you know, and whoever is, you know, like Judd or Mr. Patterson to get it done, you know, I assume we'll get it done, you know.
Okay. You don't ask in subsequent meetings, hey, we took a vote on this 3 months, where is it?
On some things I have asked that before, but on this particular thing, I can't tell you that I have asked that. I just assumed it was getting done, yes.
So normally when we get these applications for rate increases, somebody, the district has said, let's engage with somebody, hire them. They come back to the board and they say, board, we want your approval, to your blessing to vote to adopt this proposal.
and it'll say, you know, we need to raise our rate 7%, and the board says, yeah, we agree 7%, and then it gets filed with the commission, and there's a resolution by the board that says, yes, we agree it needs to be a 7% increase. But in what you're saying is that you found out the day it was supposed to be filed with us that the work wasn't even being done at all. Never mind that you all hadn't, nobody had ever come back to you all and say somebody's working on it. Nobody had ever come back to you all and said, we're ready to file it, we need your approval to file it. Is that right?
Yes.
When you get an order from the commission, when the association gets an order from the commission, do you know who it gets served on? Do you know who it gets sent to?
Well, so it gets sent to the manager, I guess, don't it, or?
Well, so every utility is supposed to keep an active email address on file with us so that we know where to send things. So we initiated this case, and when we initiate this case, we send it to you all to inform you about it. Do you know when this case got initiated, did you find out about it from Mr. Long, from Mr. Agee, or from Mr. Patterson?
I would have thought we would have probably found out when it got first brought up about it, it would have been from the office manager and Mr. Patterson, yes.
Did you timely find out about the requirement to file a rate case?
I've heard them talking about it, yes, in the meeting.
I mean, it was ordered last June. You think you found out about it soon after the order was entered and the requirement existed?
Yes.
Okay. And the expectation you all have is that within less than a month, you can do a rate case.
I honestly don't know how long it takes to do a rate case like that. This is one of the first ones that I have been through,
Okay.
since I have been on the board. I really didn't realize what all it took to do that, honestly.
Yeah, and I'm asking because, I heard you say you're hoping it's in the month. I heard Mr. Long say hoping in the month.
Yeah.
I just want to have an appreciation. I think I asked the same question, or at least Ms. Frederick did of Mr. Long. Why do you think a month? Have you been told a month? Is it just your impression a month is
I'm assuming it'd take that long to do it, honestly,
Okay,
you know.
that's fine. That's fine. I just want to make sure I have an appreciation for it. Let me go back to when you became a commissioner. Did you get anything out of the training that you went to? Did you feel like
yes.
it was helpful?
Yes, at that time, I've got notes, actually, I tried to find my notes again. We built a new house and I couldn't find them last night, but I've looked back through them notes here and there. But as, like I say, since 18, I can't remember everything, everything in them, But I did, and training is good. I'm not gonna say training's not good. I have to do it with my job now, so.
You know the training is available on an annual basis?
Yes, I do.
Is it your understanding, or do you have an understanding of whether or not the association would reimburse you for your expenses with attending a training?
Yes, they will.
Did you know that in December of each year, the PSC hosts 2 days of training here in Frankfurt?
I come in December that year, I'm pretty sure, that's what I was telling her, I think December is when I had my training. I didn't really know that they had it every year,
Okay.
but I do now, so.
Well, it's here in December every year.
Yeah, okay.
2 days.
Yeah.
You wouldn't probably stay here, right? That's not an overnight trip for you guys.
It's not an overnight trip, but probably if I come, I'd probably go home, because it's about 45 minutes.
Yeah. We have people that work here that live Richmond or, other places like that. So that's not so bad. In discussions about the quick timing, right? About 1 year that you all found out you weren't going to be, that you had to get out and get in somewhere else. In discussing getting the loan and buying the property,
were there board discussions, or do you remember board discussions about how long it would take to get commission approval if you all went that route?
I don't really remember on that. I do know, seemed like it was brought up, you know, with COVID going on, it was taking a lot longer to get stuff, you know, done, and we would, you know, we had to act quick on the building, or we was gonna lose the building, you know.
You remember having discussions about that at a board
It
meeting?
seemed like I remember something coming up, you know, yeah, that with, you know, you just, you know, you can't call hardly nowhere and get a quick, on nothing still today, you know, or, you know, with, water or sewer or anything, we used to, we could get right straight to somebody, but, you know, where I'm in the water, sewer, you know, you can, it may be a week before they call you back,
Yeah.
or, you know, it's just, nothing's fast like it used to be, you know?
And real quick, just given your experience, the plant, property and the plant that you all have, pipes, meters, couplings, valves, whatever it may be. Is there a benefit to purchasing those in bulk?
You know, just in my operation of where I've worked so long, in my part of it, I like to keep a little bit on hand on account of, you know, not getting caught without
Yeah.
it, you know.
Well, you all have what, a few thousand meters, is that right?
2,000, yes.
2,000? If you guys were to buy 2,000 new meters versus going in with Richmond and buying 5,000 meters and you all splitting it, do you think you'd get a better deal going with the 5 or the 2?
Probably get a better deal going with the 5, if we could do that, you
Yeah.
know.
Have you been aware of discussions that you all have ever had to try to look at that? Buying new pipe for a new project, buying, whatever it may be, replacement tracer wire, whatever it is, talk
No,
about that?
No, sir, we have not, you know.
Okay.
I wouldn't be above asking, you know, I just didn't know, you know, that whether they would, you know. I mean, I know my experience with Richmond Utilities and my experience with Mr. Carr, you know, they're pretty much, you know, I don't know how to say it, but I'm pretty much low man on totem pole, so, you know, they're a little higher, you know, maybe a little higher than me, so, you know, I don't know if they would
Is there-
discuss
is-
stuff like that with me.
Is there any answer you can get that's worse than no?
No, no, you're right, no, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you know that loans in excess of 2 years required prior commission approval?
I didn't know that, no, sir. You mean that's longer than 2 years? Yes, longer, yes, sir.
You knew that
Yeah.
longer than
Yeah.
2 years required
Yes,
commission
I
approval?
do now, yes,
Did, well, I guess,
Yes,
did you,
I did,
did you
yes.
know a
Yes.
year or two ago?
yes.
Okay. After 4. Mr. Patterson, do you have any redirect of the witness?
Yes, just briefly.
Take your time.
As it relates to the rate case being filed, you all retained me to do that, correct?
Yes,
Right. And you knew from my prior experience that I'd done that a couple of times, right?
Yes.
Once for Madison County Utilities and once for Kirksville Water Association.
yes,
Actually, maybe twice for Madison County Utilities. And you relied on me to do that.
yes,
Okay. And we didn't have regular conversations about my progress on that, did we?
No.
You just trusted me to do it.
Trusted you, yes.
So as you sit here right now, you don't have any idea whether I have everything done except for one thing
No,
or
sir.
not?
no,
Okay. But you do know that in the conversations about having to switch accountants, that the piece of the puzzle that was missing was the revenue requirement, right?
yes,
Okay. And did I explain to you that the person who has agreed to do it has just finished a rate case for Madison County Utilities?
Yes.
Okay. And information was received without any kind of secondary request from PSC, it flew through, and was well received,
Yes.
and I know him to be a person who can do it and do it
Yes.
well and do it
yes,
quickly.
yes,
Okay. And if I tell you from your experience with me in the past that I believe I can have something done in July, is that your experience that it gets done when I
Yes.
say I think I can get it done?
yes.
Okay.
Anything else, Ms. Frederick?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Anything, Vice Chair?
We got everything introduced that we needed to, and adopted.
Okay,
No.
thank you for that. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. Do you want Mr. Patterson to call Mr. Powell?
Yes.
This is Bobby Powell, is that right?
It is.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury?
I do.
All right, please state your name and address for the record.
Bobby Powell, Waco, Kentucky. Well, 250 Holiday Lane, Waco, Kentucky.
Mr. Patterson?
Yes. Mr. Powell, how long have you been a board member of Kirksville Water Association?
I came on the board in 19, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. And before that, what was your relationship with Kirksville Water Association?
Well, I started as an employee with Kirksville Water in 98. And anyway, in 03, I took over as manager, and I retired as manager in February of 17.
So from 2003 to 2017, you were the manager of Kirksville Water Association?
Yes.
Okay. And in all of that time period, did you ever have any adverse interaction with the PSC? Were you ever reprimanded? Were you ever receive a bad audit? Did you ever receive any kind of orders from the PSC require any kind of remedial action?
No, the only thing, all they would be, maybe a few times through those years that, like customer complaint or maybe a developer had misled a customer about having water available or something. But I have had PSC reps come in to our meeting to clear something like that up.
Right.
But never, nothing like this, that we've done something wrong,
Okay. I know you've had a chance to review it, but I'll bring it to you. The Kirksville Water Association's response to the PSC's original order. Get a chance to review that. It's the same document you were given earlier. Is there anything about that document that you think is inaccurate, needs to be corrected, or is in any way untruthful?
No, which I haven't finished this time, but I'd read it beforehand and I didn't see anything
Okay.
that stood out to me that wasn't right.
On the back, there's an adoption of response in which it says that I, Bobby Powell, a member of the Board of Kirksville Water Association, affirmatively state that I've read the above response, agree with the facts and conclusions stated therein. I sign my name below in acknowledgement of my adoption of this response as my formal response, and then your name is signed electronically. Did you give me, in this case, permission to sign your name to that document?
Yes,
Okay. Do you now adopt that response as your own?
yes,
Okay. Without any kind of qualification or correction?
no.
Now, formally in that response, did you rely on counsel to present the legal arguments included in that response?
Say, I'm
I
sorry.
said, in that response, did you rely on counsel to formulate the legal responses in that response?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
yes.
And do you have any background in law or administrative regulation in any way?
No,
Okay. So your experience is limited to working with counsel?
yes,
Okay. And you have to trust what counsel tells you about the law as it relates to the situation?
I always have. Yeah.
I know how you ran this water company. I remember the hours that you put in, but I'd like this commission to hear a little bit about what you feel about Kirksville Water Association and what it means to you, both as a large part of your career and now as a board member of it.
Well, I want to stay involved with the company. Of course, years is catching up with me, but I still wanted to stay involved. And one main reason, those were my prime working years, and I would like to think that I'm a part of what they are today, from the time I started until I retired, you know. But it's just something I like to keep doing as long as I'm able. And I've honestly got more friends on the water route than I do in my neighborhood and where I live. So it's personal for me.
Sure. Now, and did you believe at the time in which that you had the contract was not going to be renewed and you needed to move out, did you believe there was any way to reconcile that relationship with Madison County and that was going to somehow, the situation was going to rectify itself and you could stay?
No, from my time, like I say, we weren't connected, but of course we from the time I started in '98, we shared offices with the county. They had recently merged those districts, and we came along shortly after that in the '90s there. But the one man in particular that news came from, I knew there was actually, it would actually been a waste of time, in my opinion, to change his mind on much of anything.
Right.
So,
Now, in considering how to purchase this building that you all identified, and we've taken testimony from the other board members about why this building, why it was important. What was your opinion on whether or not PSC or approval was required if you did not borrow any money?
well, if we hadn't borrowed any, from my experience, well, it would have been like us replacing a length of line or whatever we were doing. If it was our money, we wouldn't have needed approval from the state. You know?
So you saw it as basically an extension of ordinary course of business,
Yes.
getting an office. You didn't have another office to go to, right?
No, we had looked at least a couple, trying to make a decision on what we had looked at and hoping that something else would come up, because neither one really suited, well, the others wasn't even in the same league as this one was when it came up, you know.
In considering the purchase, did you consider Kirksville's current financial situation, and were you comfortable that purchasing the property would not impair the company's ability to function?
No, I didn't have any worries about that. We were in better financial shape for different reasons than we had been in years.
And you had a long history of knowing what the financial condition of the company was because of your time as
Yes.
manager.
Yeah, if I had thought that we couldn't buy it straight out, if we wanted to, but it made more sense the way we did it. The rate was so cheap, and we knew we had other expenses coming in, setting that up after we got our hands on it. It's still gonna cost, more money to get it up and running, so that's the way that I looked at it. But I wouldn't have voted like that if I thought we couldn't just buy it if we had to, out of our budget.
Okay. And so, as I asked Mr. Winkler, and it's admittedly a self-serving question, but when we submitted the application, was it your hope that the PSC would see the merit of the application as opposed to the timing of it?
Yes, I really thought they would. I guess, through time, I'd maybe got spoiled to people that I used to know here that, anytime I called, they'd answer. Mr. Woocher was a savior many times, and there's never any trouble, getting the answers I needed. They'd help me tremendous.
Mr. Powell, I'm sorry, I want to make sure I understand your response. It's our fault? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what he's saying at all.
Well,
Check out your position.
I'm asking him a question. You've testified plenty today, Mr. Patterson. I'm asking the witness. Is it our fault?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
That wasn't the way I.
Yeah,
wasn't
I'm
the way
trying to understand the implication of your response.
Yeah. Well, no. My point is, I probably, to me, I call it being spoiled, because I was used to dealing. Well, like I say, COVID had come up, and anything. Anyway, I was always used to. I've had untelling how many conversations with Mr. Butcher and other people here, but anyway, it was just, it's a different game now than when I was manager of the company.
How so?
Well, I really believe you understand the way I meant that, and I'm probably just going to leave it where it is, because it, what, I know the way I meant it, and what.
Yeah,
I believe from this point on, anything else I'm going to say about that, you're going to turn against me.
no, I'm not turning against you. But you were saying your experience with Mr. Woocher is that when you all had issues, that you would call the Public Service Commission, that you all would engage ahead of time, right? That's what I took from your
I
response.
have real good communication.
That's what I took from your response.
Public service helped me numerous times through my career. I never was afraid of them, never did dodge them. Back then I had regular inspections, and I knew a lot, which, well, I guess all the people I knew are gone now, but that's what I'm saying. I was used to dealing with a situation like that, and I really hope that it was the same outfit that would understand why we had to move so fast, or be just left at rock bottom with no place to go.
Yeah, and just to be, I guess, straightforward with you, Mr. Powell, is that the commission hasn't entered a substantive order on this case, right? The commission opened the investigation, but the commission hasn't entered any order yet, saying that there certainly was a violation, certainly hasn't penalized anything, right?
I don't deny that at all.
Okay. So we're just trying to have a hearing and get evidence on the case.
Yeah, I don't deny that at all, and I'm not saying things are bad today and not near as good as when I was working.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that in my mind, when that come up, and we all knew, and I knew, that if we didn't do what we did, we were going to be left with nothing.
Yeah, but I want to make sure I understand the response, though. That the question, your response to the question you were asked, when you talk about Mr. Woocher, you were specifically, as I understood it, saying that you could call ahead of an issue.
Anytime.
But that's necessarily different than the situation here, where you all went ahead and did it and then sought approval after the fact. Would you agree?
Well, like I say, that I knew what you were talking about back then, and it was discussed. But anyway, what the one thing that I was informed about, and was the price, the money,
Okay.
being the difference on what you had to notify and when you didn't. That was my understanding. I didn't read it. Well, that would have been under advice of counsel, and I didn't call anybody over here to find out anything different,
And you're talking about the purchase of the building, not necessarily the
The
borrowing
purchase
the money.
price,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right, Mr. Patterson. Sorry.
Mr. Chair, I just, I think I understood what you meant, Mr. Powell, and I'm gonna ask you in a way that's not leading, that you can communicate it to the chair, because I think it's important. I understood you to say that we feel like it was an abuse on our part of a prior relationship with the PSC, not the other way around. Is that right? That we took advantage of what we thought was a relationship that existed with the PSC?
True. Or that's the way I personally felt, and
Right.
that may be
Right. And
my
not-
fault for leaning.
Right. And there's no allegation of any impropriety on the part of the PSC.
No.
And that trying to acknowledge, I think, let me ask you it this way, were you trying to acknowledge an overreach by our board and your council in proceeding the way that we proceeded? That we
Say again,
that
let
we
me make sure.
overreached, that we overreached in presenting the petition for approval of indebtedness after we'd taken it. We abused a relationship that we thought existed beforehand.
Yes.
Okay. And is that exactly why the board decided and quickly paid the note off?
Yes.
Because it was a
Yeah.
complete, immediate understanding that we had overreached.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing further.
Schroeder?
Thank you. How long have you served as treasurer of the Kirksville Water Association?
Well, I'd have to my knowledge, I believe I've been treasurer since the first year I didn't. Let's see. Going from memory, I believe the second year that I was on, that I started this treasurer. That's the way I remember it.
So 2018?
Do what now?
Did you start as treasurer in 2018 or 2019?
No, I come on the board in 2019, the way I remember it, in September of 19.
Okay.
But now, I don't believe my first year on the board, I believe I was still open. I don't believe I had any position,
Okay. That's fine. You mentioned a gentleman that used to work at the Public Service Commission, Mr. Woocher, and how when you were working as the manager of Kirksville Association, you engaged him in conversation quite often. Prior to the association making an offer to purchase that property on Fairhaven Drive, did you or anyone else, to your knowledge, anyone with the utility or Mr. Patterson at your direction, contact the commission and attempt to discuss that with any of the staff?
No, I don't guess we did. Well, it's kind of like one of those things that you kind of had to be there. I mean, we had to move fast. There was somebody, I'm talking about the next day, would have owned that building.
Are you aware that in real estate transactions, often you can make an offer to purchase that's contingent upon regulatory approval? Are you aware that that was a possibility?
Well, to be honest, me personally, I've not bought that much property, and I'm not real hip with what you're talking about, just to be honest with you.
Who was negotiating that offer to purchase on behalf of Kirksville Water Association?
Well, the board that got together, I can't remember if all of us made it up there, that first day when we met with the real estate lady. But there was a lot done.
By the real estate lady, are you referring to the listing agent that was trying to sell that building?
Yes.
Okay.
But we pretty much, well, that's how fast we had to make up our mind, was the board come together there at that building and had the banker on the phone. We knew we could do that, or we knew we could buy it. So we opted to go, rates were so low, that's what we decided to do.
To the best of your memory, how much time was there between your offer to purchase and when y'all closed on the property?
Oh, let's see. I really couldn't tell you. Well, it was a short time, but I couldn't honestly answer you with a definite time on when exactly how much time there was from the.
30 days, more than 30 days, less than 30 days?
I honestly couldn't tell you if it was 30, it wasn't much over.
If you don't know, don't say.
I don't really know. Well, I can't,
Yeah, if you don't know, that's fine. It's just, I didn't know if you had any idea, like, what
yeah, I
ballpark
don't,
it might have been.
yeah, I couldn't really give you a definite, honest answer on that.
Okay. Are you aware that often utilities file applications with the PSC, and they indicate when and why they may need an order early or sooner than the statute would require? Are you familiar with that, and had Kirksville ever done that?
Yeah, well, I've, to tell you the truth, I mean, I've seen a little of everything. I've always had a real good, comfortable relationship with y'all and Division of Water too. But really, I don't remember ever being directly ordered to raise my rates in my career. I really don't. They may be.
Are you implying that somehow Kirksville has been? I'm not sure I understand your statement.
I'm talking about the rate case.
Okay, you've been ordered to file a rate case. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean you've been ordered to raise your rates. It means you've been ordered to file the application and all the documentation to show what rates would be sufficient.
Well, what you just said, in my career, I honestly, this is the first time that I ever remember being directed and ordered to do exactly that.
Okay.
Now, I don't know, 15, which I don't remember any, ill feelings or anything back in 15 when we did that, but I really don't remember that being a case like this neither.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand the comment about ill feelings.
Well, back in 15, I really couldn't tell you exactly how it came about, the rate increase back in 15, but I don't remember even, I don't remember, being directly ordered by public service to do that, you know.
Do you remember back in 2012, while you were still serving as the manager of Kirksville Water Association, the association made an application here at the commission for permission to take out a loan with Kentucky Rural Water Finance Corporation?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I remember.
Okay. Did you have any role with that?
Well, I done some legwork for, well, Judd, and then also back in those days, my engineer played a big part in things like this. And I remember doing some legwork, things they needed me to gather, and that would have been pretty much the extent of that.
I know that case was filed by a different counsel. It wasn't filed by Mr. Patterson. It was filed by another attorney.
Yeah, we went through Kentucky Rural Water, and we combined some notes, and then actually paid some off to get into the category that they wanted us to be in. So, yeah.
Did you understand at the time that you needed approval from the commission before you could take out any indebtedness?
Yes.
Okay, so if you understood that back in 2012, why was that not the case in 2021?
Well, like I was talking a while ago, I'm not saying that things are so much worse nowadays than they were when I was working close with the commission. But in
Could you
my
explain
mind,
that for me? I think we might have got off track, and I really do want to understand that, because I work here every day, and if
Yeah.
things are somehow bad, I want to know so we can fix it.
no, I'm saying I'm not saying that things are bad now and good back then. But in my mind, I really thought that this would have been a minor issue, and after we showed the circumstances we were in, I really thought there would have been more understanding on this end, and that's, you know, that's just as honest as I know to be with you, to answer your question.
Let me ask you this, after this experience, in the future, if the Water Association is faced with any particular set of circumstances where you've got to make a decision on something, and you think there may be a possibility that commission approval is needed, either for a loan or some other action, what will you do? What will you do at that point?
Well, of course, I never did have ill feelings with PSC during my career, and I don't want to start now. You know what? I'd like to
So if
keep
you
things.
have questions in the future about whether something needs commission approval, how are you gonna find the answer to that?
Well, like I say, I used to. I'd pick the phone up and I'd have my answer in, 30 minutes or an hour. If he didn't get me when I called him, he'd call me as soon as he seen it.
Okay. Now, since you have been on the board, what, if any, training have you received as far as your responsibilities to Kirksville Water Association or utility management?
Well, of course, I let my license go after I retired. But anyway, my first year when I came on, 19, I believe it was this exact room. I had a 2-day training designed especially for commissioners.
Okay. Now, when you said your license expired, we're talking about your operators, your
Yes,
water,
ma'am.
your
Yeah.
operator's license with the Division of Water.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Okay. Now, to the best of your knowledge, did you personally or any of the other commissioners have any relationship, whether it be business or personal, with the folks that were selling the property on Foxhaven Drive?
No, ma'am. I really, well, I couldn't told you back then. I still couldn't tell you exactly who the owners were.
What about any relationship with the listing agent?
No, well, I can really say that's the first time I'd met her too.
Okay.
Now, our manager, I think he had known her ahead of time, and that's kind of,
Former manager, Mr. Agee?
yes, ma'am, yeah. But now, they weren't friends, but he knew her, you know, as an agent. And that'd been as close as I would have been to knowing who she was, you know.
You're the treasurer for the association, so I'm going to ask you, you may have a little bit more specific knowledge than some of the other board members, but the 2022 $19,500 loan that was taken out to purchase a vehicle, that appears on y'all's annual report and your audited financial statements as having a 4-year term, but yet there's been a lot of testimony here today that it's really a 2-year loan. So do you know why that discrepancy exists?
Well, I could tell you what I think, but I'm not positive, so I really can't give you an honest answer.
Well, we're going to get the loan instrument, so we'll
Yeah.
know, but I'm just kind of curious
Yeah.
as to why everybody says that it's a 2 when the financial statements say it's a 4. If
But
there's some
like I
explanation.
say, in my mind, I think I could tell you, but I'm not positive, and I just can't answer you and really feel comfortable about an honest answer.
Before y'all entered into that loan, did you ask Mr. Patterson if he needed commission approval for that?
Yeah, I think it was bounced around some, and then again, it was,
To the best of your
well,
knowledge?
way
what did he
I
tell you?
remember it now, there was things come in like the duration of the loan, the way it's set up, and the amount, and things like that were talked about.
Okay. Was it your understanding from Mr. Patterson that you didn't need commission approval for that loan?
Well, I'd have to say it was, because, we wouldn't, it was throwing the wrench in it.
In your own mind, did you have confidence in his response?
Yes, ma'am, he'd never let me down before. I've been he come on board in, 03, the year I took over.
Given the situation involved with this proceeding, you would still have confidence in the response that he gave you for that loan?
I'm sorry I couldn't hear that last.
I'm just wondering if the situation we're in now in any way colored how you would have viewed that opinion that you received, if you would have given it more credence or less credence than you would have otherwise, given the proceeding that we're in now.
Well, are you talking about, how I would feel about if I still trust my counsel like I did years ago? The answer would be yes.
Okay, why is that?
Well, I mean, we worked together since '03, and yeah, I've never had him mislead me in any way.
I appreciate
And
that.
if he don't know directly what he's talking about, he'll get you an answer. He's always took his job serious.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you a question that I don't often ask witnesses, honestly, I really don't. But I do have a great appreciation for the number of years of service that you've put into this little rural utility. And as somebody who grew up in a rural area myself, I do have an appreciation for that and for the importance of water. So is there anything that I have not asked you about, or that the commissioners have not asked you about thus far, or even Mr. Patterson hasn't brought up, that you think is really super important and you want us to understand in this proceeding, and that you would like the commissioners to understand before they render a decision in this case?
Well, I can honestly say, I've had several board members that's no longer living and things like that, but all through my time with the association, I believe they've tried to the best of their ability to do their job and stay in line. They always stress the point of me having a good relationship with the Division of Water and PSC, you know, but I believe they've always had good people on their board that's been elected since I've known them. And
All right, Mr. Chairman, I have no further questions.
I've never known any of them try to hide anything or, nothing like that.
Earlier, you made a statement, I want to follow up on it. You talked about the news regarding the, not withdrawal necessarily, I guess the notice from the utility district that they weren't going to renew the lease. That you said something about, based on where the news came from, you knew that it wasn't worth even having a discussion about. What was that a reference to?
Well, I've known Jim Carr for quite a few years.
Okay, well that's, I get the answer now. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't how it was conveyed to you, but you're saying because you knew it came from the chair of the utility district and based on your experience with them, you knew that was what you were saying earlier?
True. I'd never had direct dealings with him, but I've been in that office, for numerous years, and I just.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You didn't say, I had no idea from your response where the news came from. You just said where the news came from. I want to, how did you come to find out about the notice?
Well, I'm trying to give you a straight answer on if it came from our old manager first.
Mr. Agee?
Yeah, but to tell you the truth, I don't know if I first heard about it through him or our number two man at the time was Mr. Owens. It was one of the other because I know that there was some hard feelings between our employees of the company and the county's management.
Doesn't that seem a little silly to you?
What
Having hard feelings about, whether you all are right or whether they're right or whatever, that, this is all about just trying to run good water utilities for the benefit of the consumers.
Well, I knew I know the manager, their distribution manager of the county. Years ago, he used to work for me, and of course I'd been with him all through time in the same office building. But now he was just about as mad as I ever heard of him being, and he thought we had stolen his employee, and we didn't. The boy was going to be leaving him regardless, and he came to us. We didn't go after him, but anyway, that of course when he told his chairman of the board, he said, well, if they hire him, they're going to have to find another place.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Powell.
Mm-hmm.
What benefit is there to a single utility customer in Madison County that the two water utilities, Kirksville and the utility district, can't have no relationship? Is there any benefit to that?
Well, I can really say, I've seen through time, different people's opinion of good customer service varies, and I personally don't think that our customers would have the kind of treatment that they've always been used to if we were under county government.
Well, that's not what I asked. I'm specifically asking, is there anybody that benefits from you all not able to get along? From people being mad about each other over some employee going here. Is there any customer that benefits from that?
No, but
Okay.
what we,
That's,
yeah.
that's, that was the easiest question I was gonna ask you today.
yeah,
All right, I want to go back to what you were thinking and back to your concept of when Jerry Woocher was here, and I really do hate to continue to have to mention Mr. Woocher. He enjoying retirement from the commission. And first, I'll make a statement. I think when Mr. Woocher left here, we had about 25 more employees than we do now. If you got to the Water Association in 1998, is that right?
yes.
We had twice as many employees then as we do now. So it probably is a little easier to get back to in a timely manner. I suspect if you called today, it may be more than 20 minutes, but I guarantee you'll get a call back. With relation to needing approval for the loan, or your perspective on needing approval for the loan, forget the purchase, the loan, okay? Did you know you all needed approval and just figured you couldn't get it in enough time and thought you'd come back later, that it wasn't that big of a deal and you'd seek approval after the fact? Or did you not think you needed approval?
Well, my first thought was, yeah, we would need to run anything like it by PSC before we made a move on it. And then the other things, well, I wasn't real sure about the kind of money that it was, and then when that came up, I wasn't real certain. So I based my opinion on my attorney's advice from that point on.
Okay. So you said you were generally aware and helped put together the legwork, I think was your testimony. Put some stuff together for that 2012 financing. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to read you here, and it's with the commission. It's case number 2012-488. I'm going to read you the cover letter from Randy Hayes with Reuben and Hayes, the bond counsel that represented you.
Okay.
That this was an application, and that this application requests approval of the issuance of securities for the purpose of refunding certain high-interest debt of the applicant. Is that how you remember it?
Well, that's been a long time ago. I know Kentucky Rural Water was a big factor in helping get all that done.
Yeah, but you said earlier that it was specifically to refinance
Yeah.
through the Kentucky
Yeah.
Rural Water Finance.
Yeah,
Okay.
we paid some things off under their direction that we could afford to, and then made a better package.
Yeah, reduce the cost for consumers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then the next sentence says, and this is in bold on this letter. Due to the extreme volatility of the financial markets and the fact that this refunding is interest rate sensitive, we request that the commission process the application in an expedited manner and issue an order on or before December the 14th, 2012. And that was a filing we received on November the 9th, 2012. So Kirksville requested an order within 35 days. Do you know how quickly, do you remember how quickly the association got an order?
No, sir, I couldn't give you a straight, honest answer on that.
Would you be surprised to find out that the commission got an order back to Kirksville in 20 days approving that financing?
Yeah, well, like I say, it's been so long that I know things went pretty smooth back when we were doing that.
So that was the last financing that you remember?
Yeah, that's the last, well, I mean, besides pass-throughs and things like that up till I retire.
Yeah, but that's the last loan, that's the last financing application you remember being involved with at the commission? Is that right?
Well, well, that and whatever we did in 15, I'd have to look it up to tell you exactly how that went.
Okay. So, but I guess what I'm trying to find out is, it sounded like from your answer earlier that you said, I think something like you didn't think it was a big deal or a big problem. to come in after. The record will reflect your exact answer. But it was about timing. You were worried about the timing of everything. Is that
Yeah,
right?
we'd been destroyed if we'd have missed that building.
Okay, great. But previously, the case you had been participating with 10 years ago with financing, you all requested an order in 35 days and the commission gave it to you all in 20. So why would you think that that would be a problem?
Well, I really didn't think it was, that we had the option of, putting in an offer on that and holding everybody else up without losing it. I
Okay.
really thought we would have got it bought out from under us.
But that's the purchase, not the financing.
Yeah.
You said earlier that you were fine buying it and entering into the loan because you knew that you all could buy it outright if you needed to, right?
True, yeah.
And earlier we heard about the multiple options, and one of the multiple options was buying it outright or buying it outright and then getting a loan against the property, right?
That was one option, yeah.
That was one of the options. So, but you all took another option. Would you agree?
Yeah, but because I think the rate was like 2 or 3%.
I'm not saying it was an unreasonable option. I
Yeah.
just, as a factual matter, you all chose a different option.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you under the impression that if you took or came to, let's say, the December one that we have here in Frankfurt, because I think it is closer for you all, probably all to come to Frankfurt than it would be to go to like Jenny Wiley, for instance. Maybe it's not, but I'm going to guess that it is. That if you sought to come to a commission training, a water commissioner training, are you under the impression of, what's your impression of whether or not the association would reimburse you for the expenses and the registration to come up here?
They would, no doubt.
Okay. Yeah, that's not a concern. That's not what's keeping you from doing it then?
No.
Okay.
Well, one thing, I may be wrong, I've been out of a pretty good while, but it used to, I think commissioners had to make like 450 or above to be required any continuing training, you know. I don't know how it is now. I don't know what the rule is now.
Okay. Oh, and this is my fault for not asking Mr. Powell at the time. When you said you might have heard it from Mr. Owen and you might have heard it from Mr. Agee, the information about the notice, would
Yeah.
that have been at a meeting or did you hear it from them?
No, it wasn't at a meeting.
It wasn't
No.
at the meeting, it was
No.
separately?
No.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
all right. Yeah, I took from your response it was separate, I want to clarify. The others had indicated, I think they heard at the meeting, but you heard, do you think you heard before the meeting or after the meeting when everybody else heard?
I heard it early on,
Okay.
but I couldn't really say if it was before,
So
well,
do you know, let me just ask real quick, do you know were you all actively really looking for office space between when you all found out in and around June or July or August or whatever it was, and we'll find out from the minutes, and November, where you all purchased this thing, were you all looking very hard before you found the place, the new office?
yeah, we had looked at a couple there, we were basically looking as fast as we could to try to find some place. You know, we didn't want to stay someplace and the man's already said he's going to throw us out. So anyway, we looked at one, it was definitely not suitable. Then the other one was kind of iffy and it really didn't make sense to park in or nothing. And then this one come up and it fit like a glove. And we just didn't want to lose it, you know.
And you all bought it in November, and the agreement expired the next June, is that right?
I really would have to look at that to tell you.
Do you remember when you officially moved in and you were completely out of the other facility?
Yeah, of course, I remember moving in, but, I honestly couldn't give you a definite week.
Well, I don't need definite week, a month.
Or, well, I couldn't feel good about giving you a definite month.
Let
You
me
know,
ask
I
this.
may have been on tail end of one and start of another one, you know what?
Let me ask it this way. Your note is dated November 18th, I think.
Yeah, I
Were
know
you
it was,
all- were
I
you
know
all-
it was cool weather because
Okay.
I was in shortly working on some landscape there, to do what I could in the
Before Christmas or after
cold.
Christmas?
Well, it was cold weather. I was wearing a coat with a chainsaw.
Well, it snows in April, so that's not really.
Yeah. I just
Every
know
once
it's
in a while,
cool.
so. All right. Mr. Patterson, do you have any redirect? All right. Any additional questions?
No.
All right. Thank you very much. You may.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Patterson, that's everybody you all have today. Would you like to recall anybody for your purposes?
Do not.
Ms. Frederick?
No.
Vice Chair, do we need to recall anybody?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. So all the witnesses are excused now if they'd like to. I think we'll be here much longer, Mr. Patterson, but, I think, so I know we want to ask for I do know we want to ask for the minutes. We can probably get those asked. Today's, I think, Thursday, 3-day week. If we get those out by some point next week, is 14 days sufficient to respond to those, or would you prefer more time than that?
Just to produce the minutes?
So it's the minutes. Do you have any
It's the
other?
minutes we're asking for, that 2022 note, any loan agreement.
And I think a couple of vice chairs' questions earlier about, to Miss, no, that's from this morning's hearing.
Yeah.
Never mind.
We have all
It's been, I know, it's been a very long day.
Last year's been quiet the second hearing.
All our
Whatever.
minutes are very accessible, very easily produced. The
2
notes
weeks
should
you
be-
think would be sufficient then?
2 weeks should be fine.
Okay, so we'll enter a post-hearing procedural schedule that sets a date for commission staff to ask post-hearing data request. Put your responses at 14 total days. And then, I'd like to do what I did this morning, insofar as the evidentiary record is closed after those data requests, give you 30, 40 days if you'd like to file a post-hearing legal brief. So, let's say that discovery is done by the end of the month, either the last week of August or the first week of September, give you an opportunity to file a post-hearing legal brief if you like. Is that fine?
Please, yes.
Okay. All right, and then, thankfully, there's no opportunity or need for responsive briefing, because there's nobody to reply to, Mr. Patterson. So, we will get a post-hearing procedural schedule out probably the first of next week, setting all those dates forward. I'd ask two things, that one, well, they're both the same thing, but either, first, for data requests, if there is information that you're searching for and that you don't have, but you have everything else, I'd ask that you go ahead and file the data request information that you have, and if you need leave for enlargement of time or additional time, that you seek leave for the narrow documents that you need, and then go ahead and file what you do have on time. If you seek additional time for your post-hearing brief, I just ask that you give us as much time as possible ahead of the deadline. We usually find frustrating, because it does take a couple days to get an order out of here, that somebody files for leave to extend by 3 days or something like that. Well, it's 3 days has gone before we can even get an order out ruling on it. So if you need additional time and you know it early on, just ask for additional time. This isn't a rush. So, we'll make sure to give you at least a month to file the post-hearing, legal brief. I do have one request. If you could do two things. Randall Webb was named in this case. We'll deal with this later, and we may enter a subsequent order on what to do. But at least as it relates to, since we didn't have anything ahead of the hearing on Armin Sanders, if you could do two things. First is a response for Mr. Sanders, just a affidavit or something indicating why he was not present from the hearing today. And the second would be an oath or affirmation that he agrees with the initial response that I asked the other 3 board members that were here today, that they adopted that as their, some sort of factual oath of verification that he agrees with the response and adopts it as if it was his own testimony.
Will do.
Okay. Is there anything else, Mr. Patterson?
Not for me.
Anything, Mr. Frederick?
Are you asking Mr. Patterson to file a motion to have Mr. Webb and Mr. Agee excused from this proceeding? I'm not sure.
I'm not, I figured we'd take that up internally, and then
Okay.
insofar as leave is needed, we would enter it. I think we need to internally discuss it, enter an order
Okay,
addressing it.
okay.
So we'll take that up, and so if we need, I don't know, a copy of the minutes of the association or whatever it may be, so we'll take that up and we'll enter an order for,
Just letting you know that the post-hearing data request then will request some sort of documentation that Mr. Webb is no longer on the board at the association and that Mr. Agee is no longer employed. So I don't know if that's in the minutes, but if it's somewhere else, we just need some kind of
my
documentation.
recommendation on that would be if you will have association minutes of the elections, the results of the elections would be helpful, and then the swearing in of the person that replaced Mr. Webb. And then an affidavit from Mr. Long should work, and just a factual affidavit saying that Mr. Agee is no longer employed with the entity, so that we have evidence insofar as we need to dismiss them from the proceeding.
Okay. All right.
All right, if there's nothing else, we're adjourned.